Hello everybody and welcome to GPVWC, and for the first time in 7 years, welcome back to the Sepang International Circuit. Designed by Herman Tilke on the F1 calendar from 1999 to 2017, it is beloved by fans and drivers alike. It's got so many different sectors to it. You can see those two long straights in the middle. You can see the tight and twisty Mickey Mouse first sector that just kind of curves in on itself. It's got so many narrowing, tightening radius corners that are so difficult to get right, and you can see them just flicking the cars in. This is a circuit that has never been driven with the cars based on the new regulations, the 2026 Formula One regulations. So it'll be really interesting to see how it actually goes. The closest that we got was in Super Lights on Tuesday this week, and that was an absolute humdinger of a race that came down to not just the final lap, but the final corner. An absolute sensational race of the ages. My name's Caitlin Penny. I'm being joined once again today by Lorenzo Eterovic-Funcic because Ross is still away. Lorenzo, you liked it so much you had to come back.
Yeah, it seems like I have. It was quite nice being there for Jeddah, and Sepang, I've driven it in Academy. Wasn't a blistering result by any means by myself, but it's quite a nice track, and the Super Lights race was quite entertaining to watch. If that's an indication for today's event, then I'm well chuffed to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a fantastic one, I'm absolutely sure. If you didn't see that Super Lights race, by the way, definitely after this one, go back and check it out, especially that last few laps of the race. There was drama right from the start as two of the top guys, Matej Majka and Alex Laho, came together and crashed, unfortunately, and I think they would absolutely have been first and second if that hadn't happened. But then we ended up with a final lap overtake for the lead, or very nearly, so we thought. But it didn't quite end up going that way. But yes, so my name's Caitlin, I'm joined by Lorenzo, and the broadcast director, as always, is Remco de Zeeuw, who is always behind the scenes putting in the work, but we couldn't have these broadcasts up without people like Remco doing all of the hard work. So let's talk a little bit about the Sepang International, because as I said before, it's the first time that it's been on the Super League calendar since 2019. Even that was a return to Super League as well, because before that it hadn't been on the calendar regularly in pretty much a decade even then. So it's been on and off the calendar for a little while, but it's never really been a permanent, like a mainstay of the calendar, and I don't think that it will be going forward either, considering that it's not on the real world Formula One calendar. But I think that's such a shame, because it is such a track with so much character, and we actually have a little video that we can show you which takes us around the track courtesy of our onboard driver Sergio Fletcher.
Here we are, let's go for a lap around the Sepang International Circuit, very wide track. We're going to make our way into turn 1, keep it on the left hand side, brake 70 meters before the corner. You can brake very late, carry out of speed, late apex, sacrifice the exit so you can get a good line into turn 2. It's very important to get good traction into turn 3, which is this flat out section. Just hug the inside curb to do the least amount of meters possible. Now we're on our way into turn 4, brake very late again, make sure you clip the apex curb, because this corner can make or break your entire lap. Now we're on our way into turns 5 and 6, very fast left and right handers, cambered so you can be flat and easy. Just make sure you get the right turning point, keep one wheel on the curb to not violate track limits. Now we get the double right hander, very committed, very fast, be wary because the car will want to step out on those bumps. Now we make our way into turn 9, a hairpin you can brake very late into with uphill camber. Just make sure the car is straight to get good traction out of it. Now into turn 11, which is very technical, brake a bit early, make sure you clip that inside curb, go early in throttle, get a good exit, use all the exit curb there. Now we're just in our way into turn 14, which is this one here. Very technical, brake and steer at the same time. Just a matter of balancing your inputs to get good rotation so we can launch you into this massive back straight. Very good overtaking opportunity, the last corner of the lap. We're going to make our way into it, 8th gear, top speed once again, brake very late, be wary of the rear transit about because there's negative camber, get a good exit, light on throttle, use all the curb on the exit, and that's a lap around the Sepang International Circuit.
All right, welcome back. Thank you, Sergio Fletcher, for that little video there. Some of you may have noticed, if you're eagle-eyed, that Sergio has now done the Hot Lap video 2 races in a row. It was actually supposed to be Jan Grankvist doing it for today, but big news and quite tragic news for the fans of the championship. Jan has actually pulled out of the series, so that is some of the biggest news coming into today, and I believe that is breaking news because I haven't seen it post on the Discord or anything like that. But Jan Grankvist, who is running second in the championship coming into this round, has pulled out of the series, and we believe that is a permanent thing. His reasons are quite personal. We're not going to go into them too much. I don't know all of them, so that is okay. Some of it is related to the way that the upgrade system works, and we will go into how the upgrade system will affect this round in a little bit. But yeah, we're not going to dig too deep into the personal reasons that Jan Grankvist may have pulled out of the series, but unfortunately that has happened. You will also notice that we don't have a second Super Venturi car on the grid today. We're not sure if a second one is actually planned to arrive. My spotters guide just leaves that slot blank. So we may just have 27 cars today, and the one that's missing is a big one, with that being the second place driver in the championship and the 2024 championship winner, Jan Grankvist. So Lorenzo, big news, very sad, and unfortunately that leaves the championship wide open now for Loic Meunier to start running away with it.
Well, I won't get too ahead of ourselves really at the moment, Caitlin. It's only been 4 rounds, this being the 5th one. Loic obviously quite comfortable in first place so far. It's a 26-point gap, I think that is, between himself and Jan. But I do think that the 2 HRTs, as we can see there in 3rd and 4th, Maciej Mlinek and Carlos Martin, I do think that if they keep the tempo going on from Jeddah, that they can challenge Loic Meunier, and they are currently 1st in the team standings as well. So I do think, again, if they keep the consistency going, they most certainly will challenge for the team's championship, potentially even for the drivers' championship, but going below them as well. Some drivers who I don't think will be quite championship contenders, but are still doing quite well. Sergio Fletcher there in 5th place, a point ahead of Tom Stevens in 6th place, and the Altine in 7th there. 2 THRs occupying 6th and 7th in the championship. Norbert Jakob in 8th place after his first podium in Jeddah with that 3rd place. Quite a lovely battle he had with Loic Meunier as well for 2nd place up until the last, I think it was 10 laps. And then the 2 top esports cars of Owen McGorgy and Shimon Frelig occupying 9th and 10th. Quite a slow start to the season, one could say, for the top esports guys, but I think they'll bounce back. Surely they will.
Yeah, I expect so. I mean, if you've taken a look at the predictions that I posted today in my Penny for Your Thoughts section, I've actually got them down for a 1-2 today. So we'll look out for the TOP esports cars and see if anywhere near correct on the money. Just a little bit of an update. Another driver missing from that top 10 standings that you see there. Tom Stevens is on his where he's focusing on university. Maciej Micah is racing. Sorry, Mateusz Micah, who I keep calling Maciej because I'm confusing him with Maciej Mlinek. But Mateusz Micah is still racing that car, just as he did last time out in Saudi Arabia. He had a little bit of a tough time of it, but was still able to pick up a point in 15th position. So we'll see if he can keep up that streak today. We do now have 27 cars on the server. We were a little bit confused before because there were only 26, and it appeared that Maciej Mlinek had jumped into the wrong car. He was seen out on track in a Drake, despite the fact, of course, he is an HRT driver. But now he has clearly got into the correct car. He's in that HRT, as we're so used to him seeing, and we expect him to go well as well because he won the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix last week in that HRT car. We're heading out for qualifying now, and this is one of the more unusual qualifying sessions that we've seen this season, because for the first time this year, upgrades are being brought in, so not all of the cars are identical, and we will go a little bit deep grade system works later on in the session. We also have some people running new engines and quite a few people running older engines. Sepang not necessarily a track where you need straight out power, and so a lot of drivers are risking racing with a slightly older engine, which is one of the reasons that it was so difficult to come up with a prediction for how the race would end up going. So we'll dive into that in just a little bit, but we're currently watching Norbert Jakob heading out onto the track, and as he said, Lorenzo, he picked up his first podium 2 weeks ago at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. He sounded very, very pleased in the interview room, and surely, I mean, we can all relate to that sort of feeling, can't we?
Well, myself a bit less than others. I haven't had as much success as someone like Norbert would have, but as someone who sees him as a fairly lovely person and someone who sees him as a quite close friend, I was well over the moon with how he performed, and I do think he can perform equally as well today. And I think that third place that he had in Jeddah is not going to be his best result this year. I do think he'll pick up a win, but whether that happen today or a different event will remain to be seen. And you mentioned that there's been quite a lot of upgrades with engines and cars in general and whatnot. It does appear that man-made things are not going to be the only crucial thing here for this race. I am hearing from Juho Soppinen, who is driving today for Lion GP again as he was in Jeddah, that there should be rain during qualifying in about 6 or so minutes, so drivers will want to get out while it's still about dry and set the best laps they can. Otherwise, if the weather information is in any way correct, then well, they'll be a bit short for time.
Yes, so I didn't know that. I knew there was potential for rain later on, but I didn't believe that was until the actual race. So we'll see. But if it does come during qualifying, that makes these first few laps even more important than ever before. We don't normally see one-shot qualifying in GPWC like we used to get, but that could end up being a thing today, where your first lap is the only one that you get time for, depending, of course, on when the rain comes down. Norbert Jakob's lap has looked pretty clean so far. He's just coming through to the final sector and the final corner. Breathes it into the turn, not quite touching the inside curb, using a little bit of track on the outside, but that is okay. And up to the line, Norbert Jakob 136.0. That is a little bit slower than we were expecting the pole time to be. We're expecting it to be at least in the 134s. Sergio Fletcher currently at the top, 135.759. Xavi Rose looks to be improving on that potentially. Xavi Ross, I keep having to remind myself to say that as I've been saying it wrong for so long. Across the line he goes, and he does go to pole position, or at least provisional pole position, with a 135.289. So Ross leads from Fletcher and Schluter as it stands, although both of the True North cars are up there just as they were in Jeddah when they finished 3rd and 4th position at the end of quite a thrilling race. Shimon Frelick now lapping. He is in 18th position, little way down the order at the minute, although looks potentially to be going for a second push lap. Now it's always hard to tell if somebody's going for a second push lap, because in GPWC it makes perfect sense to push on your way back to the pits so that you have more time to set another lap. There's simply no reason why you wouldn't push on your way back to the pits. So that could well be what's happening here for Shimon Frelick. And Lucas Murno has set a pretty quick first sector. Second sector a little bit down there. But Murno has been one of the quiet challengers of the season so far, one of the dark horses who can always snap up points whenever other people are not quite on their guard. Murno is currently 19th in the championship, but he's been in the points on every occasion so far. No top 10s just yet, but he's been close. Norbert Jakob now goes to the top of the time in the 134s. That's a 134.916 pole position as it stands. Murno's lap was decent, went up to 6th place. Dylan Fisher now goes up to 4th place. And with 5 minutes left in the session, it is looking pretty grey out there, Lorenzo. So you can see why there's been such a flurry of activity in the early stages here.
Yeah, and again, it'll be interesting to see whether the weather forecast will come to fruition, as we said with the rain. It was Juho who said just about before qualifying began that it should be about 8 minutes until the rain starts. And meaning that it should be here in about 3 or so minutes, I think. So the drivers who are currently in the pit lane, they'll have about enough time to do one out lap and one hot lap before the expected rain comes down. So they'll want to do, well, they'll want to go out as soon as they can and try and set those laps in, especially if the rain is coming. And Lucas Mano, he hasn't come in yet. This is his third hot lap, I think, and it's his best one so far. Never mind. Speak to you soon.
Yeah, so we were told earlier on that the pole times would actually be quicker than this. I was looking at first to see if it was already raining on track. It's not. I think it might just be the track is not at its grippiest. It is quite hot out there, actually. According to RaceView, which I'm looking at now, the air temperature is still 34.5 degrees Celsius, which is pretty warm. And if it did start to rain, it would very much be a tropical rain shower. And often that's not the best weather conditions for these cars, because you like it a little bit colder, so the tyres aren't overheating on you. Here's Jukka-Pekka Lalu. He has a completely fresh engine for today, which is going to be an important one because not everybody does. Leaves it a little wide into that final corner. If he can get the power down for the last straight, it shouldn't matter too much. He comes up to the line. Whoa, P1 for Lalu, 134.789, and he is not necessarily one of the quickest qualifiers in the field. So that is quite a lap there from Jukka-Pekka Lalu. He's just been knocked off his perch by Sven Schubert now, 134.669. So the track potentially getting quicker. Fournier now goes to the top. It seems like everyone who comes through is displacing the next car. I think the track is getting slightly quicker now. So Fournier first, followed by Schubert, Lalu, Jakob, and Fletcher. That would be quite an order if it was to finish like this. Loic Meunier though, look at that, nearly half a second up in the first sector alone. We haven't really seen a competitive lap from Meunier there. You can see he's 2 seconds down in the split. I wonder if, I'm trying to work out if this is his first push lap on this run. I'm wondering if people are going for 2 push laps at a time. But yeah, very quick first sector for Loic Meunier. That was a true purple. He's actually been beaten in that sector now by Owen McGorgy. So Loic and Owen are both improving on their laps, both coming towards the final sector of this particular lap, and they should get easily into the 133s with these, I believe. You can see just how far up Loic Meunier is. Through the final corner now, out of the final turn, with just under 7 minutes remaining. Soriano goes to P1, Micah goes P2, Meunier blows it out of the water with a 132.722. Jarl Tyen goes second, Schluter should improve as well, goes first, there we go, Schluter goes to the top. I don't know what everyone was doing for the first few laps of the session in the 135s and 36s, we're down to the 132s already, Lorenzo.
Yeah, it's a bit odd to have seen the lap time so slow at the beginning of qualifying. You'd have expected something like that more in a split qualifying format, in the way that Formula 1 has it, for example, where there's 3 qualifying sessions and the lap times get faster so as the sessions go on. But to go from 135s to 132s in the matter of, whoa, was Xavi Ross there, quite loose in the rear end out of the final corner. He was purple in sectors 1 and 2, and he does improve nevertheless. Even after that final corner, he was a bit slow. He was a 10th slow in the final sector, but he gained enough time in the first and second sector to improve on his lap time, and now is the provisional pole sitter with just about 5.5 minutes left. But as I was saying, it's sort of seen that lap times drop so much in such a short amount of time, so it does leave you wondering what exactly were the drivers trying to do. Maybe they were expecting rain as well, and
Sorry, yeah, so in the YouTube chat, Wopke Hoekstra says someone peed on the track before the qualifying starts. Now, obviously, he's not being serious with that. Well, as Loic Meunier goes off on the way back into the pits. Obviously, he's not being serious with that, but I think he has a point that the track may have been wet as the session started. And to be honest, I'm embarrassed that I didn't pick up on that. But you're absolutely right, and David Fidox messaged me about the same thing. I believe that there was a rain shower before the session started, and we can't really see it because we're not seeing spray coming out from behind behind the cars or anything like that. But that's the only explanation I can think of, because there's no way that the cars should have been in the 135s or 36s. We were told before the session that pole time should be a 131 or 132, and I think the only explanation I have is that it was already wet. Meanwhile, the two Valley Esports cars have gone first and second. Sergio Fletcher P1, Alessandro Maggio P2. Mark Schluter is still running in that third position there, and those are impressive lap times to say the least. 132s, low 132s. And earlier on, Toby Davis, the THR team principal, was posting in the Discord chat that he thought the pole time would be in the 132s. We're now well into the 132s, and I think it's looking unlikely that nobody will get into the 131s by the end of this one, especially since Valley Esports do not both have a completely fresh engine. Car 1, and I'm trying to work out which of the two that is, so the first car in the team has an engine that's already been used for a race. The second car does have a 100% engine. Both of the engines are relatively fresh, but not completely fresh, which is why it's interesting to see them both right up at the top of the times, and why it's impressive to see them already there with still 3.5 minutes left to go in the session, as Murno improves again and goes to 4th place. This is a very impressive one from GP driver.
It's very impressive to see Lucas Murno so high up. Obviously, he's yet to finish outside the points so far this season, but equally enough, he's yet to break into the top 10 this season. Lion GP, quite objectively and quite obviously speaking, relying solely on him for the points so far this season. Thiago Melo and Juho Soppanen both have had, Thiago Melo had 3 races so far. Juho Soppanen has had 1, this being his second, and neither of them have been able to score points so far. So Lucas Murno doing all the heavy lifting for the Brazilian outfit, for the Mexican outfit so far, and he seems to be stepping up his game even more so, and we'll be interested to see whether his teammate today, Juho Soppanen, can follow him and get the points as well home for Lion GP, as most drivers now seem to be coming back into the pits. Wondering whether they'll be going back out. There are a couple of drivers still out on track. I don't know whether any are on hot laps at the moment. No, it wouldn't appear. So Lucas Murno did go green in sector 1, but he seems slower in sector 2. Philip Pushka though has gone purple in sector 1, so we'll be keeping an eye on him, as the Drake Racing driver hasn't had the greatest start to the season.
Maciej Munich came into the pits just now to set up for one final qualifying run. He does not have a fresh engine today, neither does his teammate Carlos Martin, who in fact has an even lower engine percentage. He's he's got an engine that's showing up as just 40% new, which means that it's being used in its 3rd Grand Prix today, whereas Munich's is being used in its 2nd Grand Prix. So both of the HRT drivers have a mountain to climb. Teams who have a completely new set of engines include Adonis, Lion GP, which is one of the reasons that Murno is doing so well, Drake Racing as well, and it would have been Super Venturi, although of course they don't have both of their cars out, so we're just looking for Jukka-Pekka Lalu with that fresh engine. Philip Pushke now improving on his own time. He's currently in 15th position. The former champion comes up to the line, and 6th. That's a good lap from Philip Pushke there, who will be one of the only drivers on this grid who has actually raced Super League at the Malaysian Grand Prix before. The previous winner of this event, by the way, was Yannick Bock, who is not racing here today. He has been replaced for this round, and yes, possibly this round only, although he was telling me earlier that he expects to miss more rounds potentially. Meanwhile, look at this lap from Alessandro Maggio. Purple in the 1st sector, purple in the 2nd. This is a real potential for pole position here. He could well get into the 131s, as Luke Mitchell improves there, the driver who's replacing Yannick Bock. He goes up to 11th position as it is. Jeffrey Fournier now goes up to 6th. We're still watching Maggio, and rightfully so, because he's coming up to the final corner, and if he gets this right, this could be pole position for Alessandro Maggio, who did so much work to help this track come to life. He comes up to the line, and is it? And it's pole, provisional pole by not much at all, because no sooner had Maggio crossed the line that Fletcher also improved on his lap. Valley Esports are over half a second faster than any other car as we speak. Schluter comes up to the line now, and stays third. It was an improvement on his lap, although he has stayed third. There's a big gap back into fourth position now. Philip Pushke comes up to the line. This is not necessarily looking like it's not going to be a pole time, but could he improve on his own lap, maybe his own position? Up to the line, Pushke pushed, although he stayed in 7th position at the very end. That could be it, I'm afraid, for the qualifying session. Geoffrey Fournier it's showing as green, although he's down on Xavi Rose, who is the car ahead of him in the order. But actually a few cars started their laps quite late. It's showing up as Ross and also Lucas Murno still being on push laps. Jakob and Munier are doing the same thing. I think potentially Munier, the most exciting of those drivers, considering he is our championship leader. Xavi Rose, you can see him there into one of those tightening radius corners where the braking zone does everything that it possibly can to catch you out. Some improvements now. Eros Masciuli goes up into 4th position. That would easily be his best qualifying performance of the season so far. Matching Winnick goes up to 6th. Shimon Frelich goes up to 4th now, one of the TOP esports drivers. The other TOP esports driver goes 4th with Owen McGorgy. Ross is 5th. Now where is Loic Munier? Jakob goes 5th. Where's Munier? And does Munier still have something left in this lap?
6th.
And Munier goes 6th. You're absolutely right. So Munier goes 6th. And that is it for the session by the look of it. So at the end of the qualifying session, Alessandro Maggio takes pole position by 0.5 of a second over Shimon Frelich. It's a Valet Esports 1-2 on the grid, the qualifying maestros of Valet Esports. Then it's Mark Schluter in 3rd position, just 1/10 back. Owen McGorgy is 4th. Norbert Jakob 5th after his first podium last time out. Loic Munier, championship leader, will go from 6th position. Then it's Xavi Ross, Shimon Frelich, Mateusz Majka, good qualifying for him there. Aris Masciuli with his best qualifying of the season. And then we move back a little bit to Jarl Tyen, Lucas Murno, Mathieu Winnick, Geoffrey Fournier, Dylan Fisher, Carlos Martin, Philip Pushke, Jose Soriano, Thomas Vogt, and Luke Mitchell, although Work, I believe, has a grid penalty after the last race. Sven Schubert is P21, then it's Moritz Kropp in the other Fraser Tartan racing car, Tom van der Voort, Jukka Lalu, Oscar Soltero, Juho Soppanen, and Danny van der Neert. Do you remember earlier in that session where Lalu went to P1 and we were like, whoa, what a lap that was? Well, I'm afraid that shows you that if you're not going forward in Super League, you're going backwards, because Lalu is down in P24, I think that is, on the grid, after all is said and done. So a very exciting qualifying session there. Really, really entertaining. Quite a muddled up order at the end there. It really seemed that if you crossed the line last, you had a major advantage because of how the track was improving the whole way through. And our qualifying laps ended up being even quicker than we expected, despite the little rain shower that we got before the race started. So, my goodness, while we give ourselves a little bit of time to breathe, let's take a look back to the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, which was 2 weeks ago, and remind ourselves of all of the action that took place then. Hello everyone, and welcome to GPVWC, and welcome to Saudi Arabia. Yes, we are racing in Jeddah. When all 5 of those lights go out, we will be underway for 50 laps of racing here in Jeddah. And it's go! Watch for Maggio from the clean side of the grid. He gets going now and will lead into turn 1. Mathieu Winnick is going to have to fend off Loic Munier there, who's also got a good start. There's a yellow flag in the background, so we'll keep our eye out for if everybody still has their front wings. Jan Grankvist there, 4th position, fending off the 2 True North cars who got away in the same position that they qualified on. Xavi Rose taking a look right around the outside of Owen McGorgy in front of him, and there you can see Fisher and Mathieu Majka, who's made up 2 places, and Maggio's out! And Alessandro Maggio is out of the race on the first lap. It's showing up as a DNF, and we didn't see what happened, whether it was a disconnection or anything like that, just as we saw so many times last season. We're seeing a replay now. He's coming through the middle part of and he disappears. Alessandro Maggio out of the race on the first lap. Carlos Martin there, fighting with Xavi Rose, losing a place to Xavi Rose. I think Martin lost a couple of places a minute ago. He was actually side by side with Jarl Tyen coming out of the first couple of corners. We've got a difficult left-hander here, which really should be single file, and he goes wide and runs off the road, and then gets passed by both Tyen and Xavi Rose, who goes through at the same time. Xavi Roos now going up into 8th position, passing Jarl Tyen there for that place. And Xavi needs every position he can get, having started on those soft tyres. And look in the background as Mark Schluter goes for a move on Jan Grangqvist, and he's made that move stick as well, covers it off with a little bit of a slide job into turn 1, but as a result he didn't get good traction out of the corner, and Grangqvist goes back through again into 4th position. Now watch as Mark Schluter goes to the inside of Jan Grangqvist going into turn 1, gets the move done and makes the corner stick. So Mark Schluter, fantastic move there, and it's True North 3rd and 4th. We're a 5th of the way into the race already, and look at Alex Laho attacking Sergio Fletcher, and clonking him into the corner, and around goes Laho. He's definitely going to lose that place, and he loses another one to Xavi Roos now with a little half spin. We see a replay, and you can see that he already has about half a second, to Mounier behind, and then his car bottoms out on the curb. He tries to minimise the damage by slightly shortcutting the corner, but it doesn't end up costing him, or doesn't end up gaining him an advantage, because Mounier is able to go through into 2nd position and claws himself closer and closer to the back of Sergio Fletcher's car. Fletcher goes very defensive into turn 1. Laho goes to the outside. They bang wheels again. Not for the first time this race, don't forget. And Laho does go ahead. Whoa, they're still going at it. My goodness. And Fletcher's found an overlap. Alex Laho does get the move done. And this is Norbert Jakob once again having a go at Loic Mounier. He slipstreams him down the straight, goes for it, goes to the left. Mounier not covering it off as much as maybe he could. Maybe content just to follow Norbert Jakob for a little bit. So Jakob goes back through into 2nd position. And there's a DNF. Tomasz Wok has become our 2nd retirement, I'm afraid to say, as we saw the yellow flags out on track, and Jukka-Pekka Laulu is in it as well. So Wok and Laulu both retiring at the same time. Whether or not they were involved with each other, I suppose we are about to see. Here is Laulu on pit exit. And we saw an incident on pit exit at the last Grand Prix, so I very much hope, it is going to happen, into the barriers. And that was a case of Lalu exiting the pits, Wok not seeing him, and they could, my goodness. And who was that?
Fournier. That was Jeffrey Fournier coming in. I did see him drop a couple of positions, and I think I saw Juho Sopanen dropping a bit as well, and I think that was Jeffrey Fournier completely not expecting. It was a bit of a, well, he'll be out too. Look at that. No steering, no front wheels. That reminds me a lot of his accident at the Australian Grand Prix, where his front wing pinged off and went to space. As Jarl Tyen now makes the move on Alex Laho with the DRS open. Laho's dropping, and I saw a yellow flag. Something's happened there to Alex Laho, and he's lost his rear wing. Laho has had a shunt. He's hit the wall hard. You can see the car crabbing along as he's clearly damaged the suspension. But other than that, they haven't scored a single point yet this year. And you can see now he clipped the inside barrier. Whoa! And there was nothing he could do at that point. Okay, well, we're going to see a replay. Moritz Kropp here, and this is... Well, that's where Alex Laho had his crash, and it's on the exit of the corner where he overshoots it, and into the barriers. Here's a replay of what we're about to see. This is Jarl Tyen on Sergio Fletcher as they're fighting over that position. And that will be a relatively straightforward one, I think, down the start-finish straight. Goes through, indeed, so Jarl Tyen now up into 5th position. Mounier. And that's an interesting one, because Mounier's made the move in the final corner. So can Jakob get him back with the DRS? I think it's quite likely. Mounier has gone through into 2nd position. Jakob has the DRS open. We've got to look forwards because he's going to the right now. Norbert Jakob is going to take 2nd position back, but he's not, because Mounier is still there on the inside. Nearly runs him out of road. Very good defensive driving there from Loic Mounier. So Owen McGorgy in 6th place here is well inside of the points and hoping to go even better by passing Jarl Tyen. Maybe close enough this time? I think he's just too far. No, he is close enough. Goes for the move to the inside. Left it quite late in the straight. And, they might hook wheels there. I think they touched, but look at that. Owen McGorgy gets away with it. Winnick leads by 10 seconds, so we have to be careful not to miss him going across the line. And Yannick Bock takes 8th place now on the final lap of the race on Sergio Fletcher, who immediately comes back at him now into the latter part of the first sector.
Now, as we've been speaking, Maciej Winnick has been getting closer and closer to a historic win here at Jeddah, his first victory of the season. And look at McGorgy. Oh, and he touches with Mark Schluter there for 4th position. It's going to be a charge for the line. Schluter gives him a shove back, says, no way am I letting you have that. And Schluter keeps that 4th position. Maciej Winnick has won the Grand Prix. Munier is 2nd, Jakob 3rd. Schluter does hold on for 4th, and then it's Owen McGorgy, Tyen, Grankvist, Bock, Martin and Fletcher. Maciej Winnick wins, and deservedly so, at the Jeddah Corniche circuit. Loic Munier 2nd, he maintains his championship lead, I believe. Norbert Jakob is 3rd, and then it's Mark Schluter 4th. What a drive from both True North Motorsports drivers. Dylan Fisher P11, Lucas Murno P12, then Xavi Ross, so Shimon Frelick. Mateusz Majka does get a point.
Inside a place of... On the next
Flat out. Oh no! Oh no! Who's round? It's Magnussen. Oh, it's going to be a touch moment. It's in the barrier. Oh, they spun. Oh, this is a carnage.
And Menno Con's gonna win.
God.
It's a double pass. Could they take each other off? They don't. And flag slide. It's a victory for the Tuties. They touch. They're now. Oh no!
I'm sorry, Arno's gone round and met the wall. Mitchell will go through. Does it go uphill into turn 4? Oh, and round the outside. What a fabulous move.
Frelick will use all of his as well. Here he comes. He makes a move. They touch. They run wide. And Munier's going to get it. We're going 3-wide. Look at Tyne. Contact. Oh, my goodness. Tyne has lost a wheel.
Time's out.
The dramatic race that we were teeing up the entire time has come to an end. Alright guys, welcome back to GPVWC 2020 Super League. We have a little bit to talk about while we wait for the qualifying session, for the warm-up session to finish. We have finished the qualifying session. First and foremost, that was quite a qualifying session. Valley Esports 1st and 2nd. We know they're good qualifying drivers. They've been right at the head of the championship fight this season. But Lorenzo, last time out, Alessandro Maggio got so unlucky, wasn't able to show his full potential because he disconnected on the first lap. What more does this guy have to do in order to get that first win?
I tell you what, Caitlin, I don't even know what he needs to do anymore. He's been blighted by whatever higher forces there may or may not exist out there. Since he's joined Valet in Super League last season, it's been constant disconnections, constant crashes in general. Last time around in Jeddah, it wasn't even a disconnection, it was just his power lines just going off. He lost electricity in his entire house, so at some point you do really have to wonder, when will it all shrink together perfectly for Alessandro Maggio and he can finally have peace of mind and get that win. I think once he gets that win over the line, his confidence is going to, go up so much that even if something does end up happening to him later on in the season, which obviously no one wishes that upon him, but at this point, with everything that's happened to him, it seems almost inevitable, unfortunately. But I think once he gets that win across the line, he'll be able to challenge properly and so much more often than he already does. He was so close in Suzuka, he's been so close so many other times. And yeah, again, once he gets that win across the line, and if he keeps it going as well, which I think he will, maybe it wouldn't be outrageous to say that he could be a challenger for next year's title. This year, I don't think it'll be feasible in any way, shape or form. But next year, I do have a good feeling. It might be a bit too early to call, but something tells me that it could very well be a possibility.
Yeah, who's to say? I absolutely agree with you, especially considering we still have so long to go until that happens. So another thing that I wanted to bring up was upgrades. We've been very patiently waiting the upgrade system for 2026. There have been a lot of changes to it this year. Right back at GPWC Day last season, Will Panisi was telling everybody that he wanted the upgrade system to be a lot more user-friendly this season. He wanted a bit less box ticking and a bit more kind of events all of the time, team managers much more involved, and he wanted each individual action to really mean something as well. And I think it's been a very positive change. The only trouble is with trying to get that out at the same time as the new website. There have been a couple of hitches with it, and so it hasn't really got going. The last few races, so we're in round 5 of the season, and usually the upgrades start coming in from round 2 of the championship, although they are only coming in for the first time from round 5 this season. But it's one of the unique talking points that we have here at GPWC, where it's just like the modern Formula One, or the real world of Formula One, where the teams upgrade the cars as the season goes along, and it really means there's more to it than just the drivers going at it and seeing who's the fastest on any given day. In terms of the upgrades, we're going basically on a tier system. So if you look at each individual team, you have, for example, power, fuel, engine mass, battery, MGUK, different things that they can upgrade. They all start on tier 1 or Mark 1 upgrades, and then they can spec into different things as the season goes along. Each individual team has spec'd into different things pretty much. I think the most popular ones that people have spec'd into are the pit stop times. So pit crew, that's one thing that a lot of teams have gone for. We've also got some engine upgrades as well, but we will go on to that in due time. Meanwhile, you can see that we're getting ready for the start of the race. This is GPWC, and we're back in Sepang.
No, I think it's fine.
So here we go then. We await the start of the formation lap. 56 laps, plus of course that formation lap, await us here at Sepang. We don't know what the weather's going to do. Malaysia, of course, famous for its tropical storms. Who could forget the Formula One Grand Prix in 2009 that had to be ended early due to this tropical storm, basically a cyclone that hit the circuit and gave Braun GP their second Grand Prix victory. Obviously, in the world of sim racing, we don't really have to worry about that. We're going to keep on trucking on no matter what ends up happening, and this is the order that they are going to start in. By the way, it appears to be raining on track, so keep that in mind as we see this formation lap. Alessandro Maggio and Sergio Fletcher will go off the front row of the grid in the Valley Esports cars. Then it's Mark Schluter and Owen McGorky 3rd and 4th. You can see the raindrops on the back of the car. Norbert Jakob is P5, Loic Mounier, championship leader, P6, Xavi Ross is P7, and then it's Shimon Frelick in 8th. We're still waiting to see the tyres that everybody's starting on as well. We will show you those in a little bit. Mateusz Majka, very good job in 9th. Then it's Eros Masciuli, Jarl Tyen, and Lucas Murno. THR's struggles continue as they're 9th and 11th. Maciej Winnick, winner at last time out, is 13th. Then it's Jeffrey Fournier 14th, Dylan Fisher 15th, and Carlos Martin in 16th place. Holland Racing Team both using older engines today. Philip Puschke is P17, then it's Jose Soriano, Luke Mitchell, and Sven Schubert. Luke Mitchell standing in for Yannick Bock, the last winner of this Grand Prix, who I'm sure will be disappointed to be missing it. Moritz Kropp P21, then Tom Vandervoort, Jakob Kalalu, and Oscar Soltero. There must have been a slight change there. I think it's Tomasz Vok's penalty that slightly messed up the order there, but we'll see that. So Tomasz Vok will go for P25, then Juho Soppinen in just his second Super League race, 26th, and Danny van der Neert rounds out the grid in the Red Archer Virtual Racing Team car. The one car that's missing is the Super Venturi of Jan Granqvist, who unfortunately retired from the championship too late for Super Venturi to fill that seat. So the rain is coming down, but as you can see, every driver electing to start on those slick tyres. If we see anyone peeling into the pits, then we'll know why. My race view is still saying that it's raining, and we'll have to keep an eye on that. It's pretty difficult to see how much it's raining as we're heading around on the formation lap, but you can see those raindrops, you can see that the track is wet, and this could really play into the race as we go on, because not only do you have to focus on keeping the car on the road in the first place, but you've also got to focus on being on the right tyres at the right time. I'm surprised that the top three and quite a few people in the top part of the order are on hard tyres, because the only thing worse than being on slick tyres on a wet track is probably being on slick hard tyres on a wet track, because you struggle to get heat into them at the best of times. So keep an eye on that. I think Magorgi and Munier and Frelick may well have the advantage at the start on those soft tyres. So a real mix of tyre compounds as we go to the grid, and the Valley Esports cars take up their position at the front. We await the cars at the back, and then we await those 5 red lights to get going at the Malaysian Grand Prix. Leave your predictions in the YouTube chat. This is a completely unpredictable one, as always. I would possibly put my money on Owen Magorgi at this point, starting on those soft tyres and starting in that 4th position with a good view of the front row of the grid. Plenty still to come though, and remember, the majority of these cars haven't raced at this track. We get underway and there was a slow start for one of the THRs at the back. The lights catching us out because we couldn't see the back of them. Look at Alessandro Maggio holding the inside line, heading up to turn 1. Magorgi took a look. He's up the inside of Sergio Fletcher. Maggio holds the lead. Little bit of a touch on that front wing of Sergio Fletcher's car, and that's Mark Schluter who's on the outside and has the run. So Schluter's going to get up to 3rd place now. Loic Meunier's made up a position. He's going to make up another one. They're 3 wide for 3rd position now. 3 wide with Meunier on the inside. What a start there for the Spark NAX sim racing driver, as Loic Meunier goes from 6th on the grid to 3rd position on the first lap. So Maggio leads from Magorgi, Meunier, Schluter, Fletcher and Frelick, and there is Dylan Fisher a little bit further back, running in 13th position, and he may need to be a bit more fish than Fisher if the rain continues to come down as it is at the minute. Still 56 laps to go. We're halfway through this first lap of the race, but amazingly, despite the weather, it seems like everybody's kept their wits about them and kept their wings attached to their cars. Shimon Frelick still running in that 5th position now. He's got past Sergio Fletcher, so not a good start from Fletcher at all from that front row of the grid. And now we come through to complete this opening lap of the race, and you can see the positions gained and lost. Jarl Tyen lost 14 places. It was Jarl who struggled to get off the grid at the very start there. I wonder if maybe he was caught out by the start just as much as we were. Some drivers making up 4 places or more. Norbert Jakob is up 4 places there. Really good start from him in the True North Motorsport driver, going True North directly up the order. Now we complete the first lap. Maggio continues to lead, followed by Magorgi. Magorgi is gaining though down towards turn 1. Maggio goes defensive. He may be off the drier line. Magorgi tries to go right around the outside of him. That's going to turn into the inside line for the second corner. Owen Magorgi takes the lead of the race on the second lap. Now we look for Loic Meunier to see if he can benefit from Alessandro Maggio, who may have got off his line and lost that speed. Whoa, right over to the inside of the circuit. Meunier nearly run out onto the grass. Frelick is up to 4th place now past Schluter. So the order is all changed yet again. Magorgi, Meunier, Maggio, Frelick and Schluter. Lorenzo, what a start.
Yeah, again, you mentioned that the soft tyre runners will have a better advantage with the weather. It does appear to be very light rain so far, on about 2% on track, but nevertheless the soft tyre runners, as you said, have had a better start. We saw how far Fletcher fell on that first lap. Maggio seems to be struggling now as well. Shimon Frelick is not far at all from him, and I think Frelick might be able to catch him on that back straight into the final corner. We'll be interested to see whether I am proven wrong though, as on board from Sergio Fletcher, Frelick doesn't appear to be as close to Maggio as he was entering sector 3, so maybe he will strike in the coming lap, potentially into turn 1. I don't think there'll be DRS enabled with these conditions, but I don't think Frelick will need DRS to get past Maggio here.
See, sometimes the DRS enables right, even when you think that it wouldn't. Oh, as Frelick goes right over to the inside of the track. He did actually have the DRS there, and he goes up into 3rd position. Remember, he started, was it 8th or 9th? So that's a really good start for Szymon Frelick, just as his teammate did, Owen Magorki. And yeah, you can see that up 5 positions. So that's from 8th on the grid goes Szymon Frelick now. So Magorki leads from Meunier and Frelick. There's a yellow flag. Oh, was that Danny van der Neer maybe dropping down the order? Juho Soppanen is actually gaining places there, sorry. It was van der Neer who dropped down the order. I saw him swap with Soppanen and I feared the worst, but for Juho Soppanen at least, it's going okay. But yes, yellow flags withdrawn now, so van der Neer has resumed the Grand Prix. But yeah, absolutely, I think the soft tyres were the right ones to start on in these conditions. If the rain clears, expect the Valley Esports drivers to still be okay in the grand scheme of things. We heard before the race that it may well be a one-stop strategy for these drivers, assuming it stays dry. And so the hard tyres may be a good one to start on, but it really does depend on what the weather does. Because obviously, it's all well and good saying that you're only going to stop once, but if it chucks it down with rain and the track is undrivable, then you're going to have to stop no matter when in the race it is. Magorki continues to lead now. Meunier is 2nd, and as I was saying at the start of the lap, DRS enables even when you wouldn't expect it to in GPVWC. I've been driving Formula Sprint 2 in the past, where the track's been about 12% damp and the DRS has still been enabled, which I thought was really excessive because the rain felt like it was bucketing down on those occasions. But that's sim racing for you. It's a little bit more extreme in terms of what we can actually get away with safety-wise, and I think that sometimes makes for better racing as well. Certainly makes for a more edge of your seat sort of experience. So onto the 4th lap of the race now, and Magorki's lead is being whittled away. Meunier, who started 6th on the grid, is now within half a second of him, now within 0.3 of a second with him briefly in the braking zone. And a lap ago, he was about double this distance behind him. So Meunier is catching. He wants to go at the lead of this race, Lorenzo.
I think he might not be able to get to him just yet. Obviously, we see Szymon Frelick there in 3rd. So I do feel like Magorki and Frelick might be working together to get rid of Meunier as fast as possible and then try and peel off from the rest of the pack as fast as they can. Obviously, all 3 of them being on soft tyres, it might be quite detrimental to all 3 of them to allow themselves to get into that sort of altercation. But I don't think they'll be challenged that hard by anyone. Maggio is now just under a second behind, and he is on hard tyres, as are Schluter and Fletcher behind him. Matej Schmeich, all the way down in 7th, is the next car not on hard tyres, and even he's on mediums. You have to go all the way back down to P8 for Maciej Mlinek, who's the next soft runner, and the only other soft runner outside of the top 3, who is, well, inside the top 10. So, again, it'll be interesting to see what the top 3 here do between themselves.
The rain is sticking around, but it's staying light. My race view, the site that I'm using to keep track of this kind of thing, is still saying it's at about 2%. And look at that dive from Maciej Mlinek up the inside of Maciej Majka there, goes through. So the 2 double M's in the race going for it, Maciej Mlinek and Matej Majka. And a good move there from the Holland Racing Team driver of Maciej Mlinek, who starts a little way further back on the grid. He's got quite a worn engine today, but it won't end up mattering too much if it rains a bit heavier. You don't necessarily need the engine power in the wet weather, and in fact sometimes it can hinder you more than it helps you if you have all of that power and no way to put it down. So Mlinek, I think, has been thrown a bit of a bone by this weather today. And in these early stages where there's this light sprinkle of rain, the thing is though, it's evaporating pretty much as soon as it reaches the track, because it's still very warm out there, still about 33.5 degrees Celsius, which I would be absolutely sweltering if I was there right now. It is nowhere near. I mean, my computer's saying that it's 11 degrees Celsius where I am in rainy old Suffolk, but we continue on as it continues to hold away the heavy rain, that is. Norbert Jakob has passed Xavi Rose, by the way. Xavi Rose actually just lost another position to Lucas Murno, drops outside of the top 10, so still the position's changing. Ross losing another place there. I hope everything's okay with him. He's not dropping like a stone necessarily. He's not dropping back as in stopped, but he certainly lost 3 positions in about 2 straights there, so something not necessarily all right with Xavi Ross at this point in the race. And look at Alessandro Maggio now coming back at Mark Schluter and making that move up into 4th position, gets the move done. So Maggio potentially, having got some heat into his tyres at last, getting up to speed and getting back through to 4th.
And I'll be, again, well, it's a situation that I mentioned with the top 3 as well, all 3 of them being on soft tyres as well. It might be a similar situation here with the 2 valleys of Fletcher in 6th and Maggio in 4th, sandwiching the sole tree north of Schluter in 5th. However, they have the added caveat of Maciej Mlinek, who is also on soft tyres as are the top 3, being right behind them. He is within DRS range of Sergio Fletcher now, meaning that he'll be able to strike on the back straight here. That is 5/10 now. It's just about a bit outside of the ideal range for the DRS to work. It would usually be about 4/10. But nevertheless, Maciej Mlinek is in DRS range of Sergio Fletcher, meaning that he will be able to strike on him here. And again, I think Maggio and Schluter and Fletcher as well, obviously being the first one in line for Mlinek here, will have to look forwards as opposed to backwards as opposed to forwards. Sorry.
That's okay. You can see them taking slightly different lines through the hairpin there. Little speculative looks, trying to show yourself to the rear view mirror of the car in front, and also just find the grippiest parts of the track. And Loic Meunier finds the cleanest part of the track by sailing through into the lead of the race. Runs it a little wide, but that's okay. He's easily got that move done. McGorgy didn't really seem to put up much of a fight there. I don't think he was using much push to pass, if any at all. And Meunier was able to breeze his way through well before the braking zone of that corner. So Loic Meunier leads this race for the first time. McGorgy is second, and Shimon Frelick is still in third. And there's the fight for 6th now, as Winnick has got onto terms with Sergio Fletcher. Fletcher holding steady, and that's the battle that we were watching from on board with Maciej Winnick coming towards the end of the last lap. Now don't forget, this is going to be, even with the rain coming down, this is going to be a race with a pit stop in it. It's going to be a strategic event, as all Super League Grand Prix tend to be. We just have to wait a little bit longer into the race. Sepang can sometimes be an event with quite high tyre wear, because obviously it's very hot. The track is a little bit abrasive. It's not the most abrasive of circuits, but if you look at these corners, you have some faster ones and you have some curved braking zones, which is never good for tyres. In theory, the two-stop strategy should be faster, at least in terms of dry conditions. The two-stop strategy should be faster, but track position is also crucially important in Super League, and so that's why I was expecting that if the race stayed dry, we would see one-stop strategies from if not the majority of drivers, definitely the drivers at the front. We're now going to see Mark Schluter going for a move on Alessandro Maggio. He's got the DRS and the slipstream and goes through into 4th position, and that was a position that changed just 2 laps ago, so it's a bit of a back and forth at the minute. But Schluter is up into 4th position, Maggio down into 5th, and he's got his teammate for company now, Sergio Fletcher, in 6th position, Lorenzo, though.
Indeed, and one thing we failed to notice, Loic Meunier, not only has he set the fastest lap of the race so far, in that process he has gone past home McGorgy, so it is Loic Meunier now leading the race, as we see yellow flags being waved in sector 1, as that is Sven Schubert now getting behind Jose Soriano there into P20, Soriano going up into P19, but they've exchanged positions yet again, so it might have been something further back, but nevertheless, as I mentioned, Loic Meunier now leading the race, overtaking over McGorgy and quite comfortably peeling away from him very, very fast. It's already a 6/10 gap between themselves. So Loic Meunier might be going for a front runner style here, as horse racing term, where he's going to get into the lead and try and peel away as fast as possible and try and keep the lead coming into the end of the race, as there's again yellow flag is waving in sector 2, and that's Danny van der Niet out.
So our first retirement from the race is Danny van der Neer in the Red Archer Virtual Racing Team car. In terms of the move for the lead, we did see it, although it wasn't a traditional move by any means. McGorgy didn't really put up much of a fight at all. So now we're going to take a look at what happened to Danny van der Neer. Now that's a difficult corner because there's 2 apexes, so as soon as you finish the first, you've got to set up for the second, and I'm afraid just completely lost it coming out of that second corner and slammed it into the barriers. That's the car that 2 weeks ago was being driven by Alex Laho, and that didn't go much better for Laho either, I'm afraid to say. Now we're watching Jukka-Pekka Lalu 3 wide into the first corner. Oh, and gets tipped into a bit of a half spin. I did notice some yellow flags on that first lap, although Lalu ends up carrying on. Although right down at the back of the field. And this is yard time. This is actually before the race starts, so he's coming to the grid. And now if we ride on board with him, we'll see why he got such a poor start. Ah, did he jump it and stall? Lights go out and he just bogs down. I think he got some anti-stall there and just had to engage the clutch again, and then that cost him about 10 positions, dropped right down to the back of the grid, and that's why he was in such close competition with Jukka-Pekka Lalu and why he ended up making contact with him later on in the race. It was actually the second lap of the race when he made contact with Lalu. But yeah, unfortunate stuff there for Jarltain. He's now down in 19th position, having started from 11th. So not the best start there for the THR driver at all, Lorenzo.
No, not at all. But yeah, it was an odd incident. That one between it was Lalu Soponen and Tyen that we saw into turn 1. It was a bit ironic that you mentioned Alex Laho. With the Danny van der Neer incident, it was quite reminiscent of what happened in the second race for the Formula Sprint 1 race on lap 1, where it was Michael Francesconi sandwiched in between the 2 huge performances of Alex Laho on the outside of turn 1 and Che Hatch on the inside, where Alex Laho was sent into a half spin, and Jukka-Pekka Lalu, thankfully enough, didn't have a full grid of cars behind him as opposed to Alex Laho, so it was a bit like less chaotic, but nevertheless Lalu suffered quite a bit from it. There's surely going to be some damage on that car ran by the Norwegian, by the Finn, as will be on the other car driven by the Finn in Juho Soponen. I wouldn't be surprised if Tyen has damage as well, but if he doesn't, then I mean he seems to have gotten away the best out of any of them from that incident.
Yeah, he's okay. I don't think Soponen ended up being touched in that one either, so I think he should be fine as well. We just watched a really tense fight there between Fletcher and Winnick, and that's one of the things you can really do at this circuit. It doesn't matter which side of the track that you're on, whether you're on the left or the right, you can make it work in wheel-to-wheel combat with another driver. And that's one of the main things that I love about this Sepang circuit. And we saw that in the Super Lights race 2 days ago, where there were some times where we thought that Sandeep Singh, who was fighting for the win, would absolutely overtake Pavel Andrzejewski and then run away with the... it wasn't Andrzejewski in the end, was it? It was... I'm just going to double check that before
it was Singh and Andrzejewski.
Oh, it was Andrzejewski, my bad. So, as Winnick does go through now into turn 1, but yeah, there were a couple of occasions where, oh, and look at that! A big dive up the inside from Fletcher. That'll turn into the outside though, but if he can get his run, I think he was slightly balked out of the corner though, because where he wanted to position his car, Winnick's car still was. He may still get a run up towards turn 4, but Winnick holds on and does get that move, so up into 6th position. Good stuff there from Maciej Winnick. But yeah, in the Super Lights race, there were a couple of times where Singh poked his car up the inside, and it looked like, yeah, he's absolutely got that done. And then Andrzejewski just kind of found the grip and made it work wherever he was on the track. It was really impressive defensive driving, and a little bit over the limit at times as well. But that's kind of what you got to do. Now here's a replay. This is Owen McGorgy. Has he retaken the lead of the race? Gets the DRS open, goes for the lead, goes to the inside, and does retake the lead now. So a little bit of yo-yo racing between Owen McGorgy and Loic Mounier, but it is indeed the TOP esports driver, P1 as we speak. We're looking now at Sven Schubert in the Fraser Tartan racing car, fighting with, is that Thomas Vock maybe?
Oh.
Well, bumping and banging, going off the road and losing a place to Jarltain, losing another place there to one of the Drake cars and rejoining the race. Now, one thing, Lorenzo, that I was going to point out about Magorgi retaking the lead of the race there is that it's not just the cars that have been upgraded for this round, it's also the engines. And TOP Esports, who run the Vertex engine, are one of the only teams that have spec'd into power instead of mass. So all of the other engines, with the 4 different engine manufacturers in GPVWC being Reventon, Supra, Viper, and Vertex. Reventon, Supra, and Viper are all spec'd into engine mass, so they've all gone for making their engine lighter and making their cars handle better. TOP Esports and Vertex have gone into pure power, so that means these cars should, in theory, have a little bit more to play with on the straights. At Sepang, I wouldn't necessarily call that the biggest of advantages, though, especially in these conditions where it's a little bit damp and a little bit treacherous out on track. But they're making it work so far, aren't they?
They are indeed, and yeah, obviously, as I said, Sepang not really a track where you'd expect an upgrade such as that. And I don't think Montreal, which is the track coming up after this, before we go on our spring break, would be one to consider that for either. But again, yeah, they seem to be making it work so far, as they've got first and third place nailed down so far. And I do wonder how the other teams using the engines are doing as well. I don't think they're doing that shabby either.
So Shimon Frelick there, 3rd position. They've got Loic Meunier separating the 2 TOP Esports cars at the TOP of the order. After 12 laps of racing, going on to lap 13 now. And you can see there's about a 0.4 of a second gap back between Magorgi and Meunier. That's usually about the gap that you need to see for a move to be pulled. Meunier not using the full force of the slipstream down the straight. He pulled out of the slipstream just a little bit, maybe content to follow Magorgi for the time being. By the way, I've checked race view again, and according to the server, it looks as if the rain has stopped, at least for the time being. So the rain has stopped coming down, and we'll see if it stays away or whether we're expecting a bigger shower later on. I think it should stay away for a little while at least. And Jose Soriano is dropping down the order, I'm afraid. We saw a yellow flag, and Soriano appeared to be the driver dropping, and Philip Pushke is out of the race. That's a shame. Philip Pushke, who really impressed me in qualifying, is our 2nd DNF. Soriano has carried on, he's still got his wings and everything like that. But yes, we now have 2 retirements from this race, with those being Pushke and Van der Neert.
And Tom Underwood also went to the pit lane, so we'll be interested to see whether he was involved in everything that happened there. On board currently with Jose Soriano, he's making a move on, I think that's Sven Schubert into turn. Whoa!
Yeah.
He does hold the brakes, he does stay out of the way of everyone else, so I don't know what happened there between himself and Schubert. Doesn't look like anything else happened or anyone else was affected, so this is what happened to Philip Pushke on board with the German currently. Going through turn 3, I think he's catching the...
Oh!
Whoa! He disconnects!
Yeah, that's a disconnection. We've seen that already over the last couple of weeks. Alessandro Maggio, of course, retired from the last race due to not necessarily a traditional disconnection, but a power cut. Still, same result. Yartayan running a little bit wide, and the problem there is you have some quite big curbs on the outside of that corner, which drag you wider. So Tayan would have lost a good second or two in that one, but he's rejoined the race, rejoined the order. And here is Oscar Soltero. Now, we saw Tom van der Voort in the pits. We didn't see anything for Oscar Soltero necessarily. One of the 2 Spark drivers on track. Big twitch. And that's one of those tightening braking zones that I'm talking about, where you have to turn and brake at the same time. It can catch you out because all of the weight is on the very front of the car, and so the back gets quite light. A little bit too light there, I'm afraid, for Oscar Soltero. Oh, and Frelick's up to 2nd, so we got TOP 1st and 2nd, Lorenzo.
We haven't. We've also missed Maciej Mlinek getting past Sergio Fletcher, so Maciej Mlinek finally getting into that 6th place. However, by this point, I think Fletcher's helped Maggio a whole bunch, because the gap between Mlinek and Maggio is quite big, and I think Mlinek is well outside the RS range of Maggio currently, which means Schluter and Maggio have only themselves to battle for now. So yeah, as we see Frelick, very close to the back end of Magorgi there, but he makes the move, and actually no, it seems like Mark Schluter is closer to Loic Meunier than he is to Alessandro Maggio. So it seems like Maggio is in a bit of no man's land, as
Frelick goes
Frelick
to the
gets
lead.
past Magorgi as well.
I was just about to say, I know nobody cares about this, but the order we were in, with Magorgi first, Frelick second, and Munier third, is exactly the finishing order that I predicted for today's Grand Prix. If you don't believe me, you can check my article that was posted earlier to the GPVWC website. But no more, because Szymon Frelick has made his move for the lead of the race. Now, I can't imagine that Magorgi made that too difficult if Frelick got a good enough run. And you can see there, Lucas Murno still fighting with Mateusz Majka over 8th position, a little bit further back. It's been a really impressive start to the race for the two TOP esports drivers with their Vertex engines, their very powerful Vertex engines, as we mentioned just a few minutes ago. They've both got ahead of Loic Munier, championship leader, who's running in 3rd position. Schluter, Maggio, Winnick, Fletcher, Majka, Murno, and Jaka making up the rest of the top 10s. A really good mix of tyre compounds and cars in this early stage of the race.
Whoa!
Oh,
That's Schluter's engine smoking. We've seen that happen a couple of times in the Superlights race. I think it was Osvaldo Angelidis, I think it was his name. Apologies if I got that wrong. But also James Knox had his engine smoking for a couple of times, and now it seems to translate onto Mark Schluter as Magorgi and Murnier go into the pit lane. Schluter and Maggio stay out, and that's Matthew Mliner going into the pit lane as well. But we see, is that spray or is that smoke coming from the back of cars? It does only look to be from the back of Schluter, so it could just be his engine overheating, which would be interesting to see how that unfolds, whether Schluter can nurse his car to the end now, with still 40 or so laps remaining.
We did actually have a couple of engine failures in the Superlights race the other day. My friend Layla Petraglia had an engine failure, which she said she did not see coming at all. Schluter, one thing that's not helping him is that he's running right behind Szymon Frelick up ahead, and obviously that means that he's not necessarily getting the cooling into the airbox, but that is a little bit worrying, especially considering if it was spray, then we'd see it from the back of other cars as well, and also it doesn't appear to be raining at this point in time, so that does appear to be engine smoke, and hopefully he's not running the... Oh, and wide there for Szymon Frelick, a little bit of a mistake there, coming out through the final sector, and he's under pressure now from Schluter, coming towards the final sector of the course, kicks out the tail just a little bit, and we look back towards Szymon Frelick, towards Mark Schluter from Szymon Frelick. See them all snaking their way through the corner. Now here is one of the DRS zones, and surely Schluter is close enough for a move, and this is... Okay, he holds back for the time being. I think that makes sense because obviously we have another, and he goes into the pits. So Szymon Frelick pits from the lead. Schluter will lead the race, and nobody else has followed Frelick in at this point in time. Now, we wait to see where Frelick is going to come out in relation to the likes of Magorgi, Munier, and Winnick, because those three drivers pitted a lap ago. Mateusz Majka pitted a lap ago and seems to have really gained from it, actually. He's much closer to Winnick than he was before, and we'll have to wait and see where Szymon Frelick slots in amongst those drivers. This will be a two-stop strategy for these drivers. That's pretty much a given. But then again, with these drivers mostly starting on soft tyres anyway, that was already a given. Magorgi's gone through. Where is Munier? On the outside. That's very close there. Szymon Frelick just holding on from Loic Munier into the first corner. Magorgi has got through, so Magorgi, I believe, is in the net lead of the race at this point in time, although obviously that is hard to say with drivers starting on hards such as Schluter, Maggio and Fletcher, but an important move there to cover off Loic Munier, and now Frelick can begin to pick off that traffic, which is so important for the drivers pitting early on in the race. And Lorenzo, this is the real problem that these drivers are going to face. Yes, this may theoretically be the fastest strategy, having pitted for the fresher tyres, but at the same time it means you've got to make those overtakes, doesn't it?
It does, but it does depend also on what tyres one goes on. As we can see, both of the TOPs have gone onto the mediums. Loic Munier is on hards. The entire grid now, with the exception of Mateusz Majka, who's currently in P17, is either on mediums or hards, with the vast majority of the top 15 currently being on hards. Well, I say vast majority, it seems to be a fairly even split of drivers on hards and mediums in that top 15, but again, as I said, with the entire grid being on hards or mediums, it does make sense. However, as I'm sure you wanted to point out, we can see rain yet again on the car driven by Mark Vluter, so could it have been a wrong call potentially by the top esports pairing and Loic Meunier?
And the rain is heavier than before. We've been pinged very nicely actually by our race director, broadcast director Remco de Zeeuw and our race director Chris Williamson, who have both pointed out that the rain is heavier than before. It's about 8% now, which is more than we had before. That's all we've got to know. It's heavier rain than we've had at any other point in this race. And if that keeps up, then that will be very good for the drivers at the front of the field who are yet to make their pit stop. Because if everybody needs to make a stop for new tyres, then obviously the drivers who have not yet done that before will have the advantage. Very twitchy for Lucas Murno. You can see how much that's affecting the handling of the cars. We'll keep an eye on the lap times as well, but they will definitely be increasing. The best lap times in the race are already about 5 seconds slower than we saw in qualifying. The last laps that everybody set was only about 2 seconds, 1 to 2 seconds slower than their bests. This lap I expect will be further from the pace, at least judging by the amount of twitchiness we saw from drivers around the track. And I'm going to keep refreshing my race view to see if the rain keeps up. Lucas stays out for another lap. Everyone in the top 5 stays out for another lap. And I don't see the spots of rain on Lucas's car. That's interesting. I don't know if it's just this camera view that isn't showing it as much, but I'm not seeing it from on board with Lucas. But I am seeing it from on board with Mateusz Majka, so maybe this car just shows it up a little bit more. There's yellow flags out there, and as it starts to rain, that's going to be a little bit worrying. Mateusz Majka is trying to line up Loic Meunier. Now remember, Majka was the only driver who pitted onto those soft tyres, and they both try to go through on Frelick at the same time. And they're three wide in the middle of turn 1, and look at Meunier up the inside of Majka. Oh, a little touch there as Frelick comes back at him. Majka has made a move on both of them, a very good double overtake, which makes sense considering the tyres that he's on, but he also had to make it work. Meunier coming back at him now on driver's left, and runs it out to the curb, gets a good drive out of the corner, but just didn't quite find the grip out there. So Majka has made the move stick. That was a very good overtake there, good double overtake from Mateusz Majka, who has brought himself into contention in this race. But yes, if it continues to rain like this, that will be good for anyone from 1st down to 10th position, pretty much. Sluter, Maggio, Fletcher, Jakob, Murno, etc. Jarl Tyen will feel like he's been thrown a bone if it continues to rain like this, because if he was to pit now, he would come out maybe 19th, maybe 20th position. If it continued to stay dry and he pitted, he would be way further back than that, and he'd stand no chance of points in this race. Carlos Martin now taking a look at Eris Masciuli, goes up the inside from a long way back. They touch. That was a little ambitious, and you can see the wet patch there as they come out the final corner, and Martin still side by side with Masciuli. Now tucks back into the slipstream. DRS is still available, goes to the inside once again. This time a much more reasonable place to pull that overtaking manoeuvre, and he goes through into 8th position as we speak on the very similarly liveried Adonis racing car.
Yep, indeed, as Jarl Tyen goes into the pit lane, which means Mateusz Majka gets another position going up into P11. Jose Soriano is also into pit lane, so quite a lot of people are pitting now for new tyres. We'll be interested to see which tyres they go on. One driver I'd like to mention while we talk about these pit stops is Loic Mitchell. He's just gone up into P18, but he did pit onto soft tyres. It was, I think, 2 or 3 laps ago as Jarl Tyen goes onto intermediates. So I think Loic Mitchell, unfortunately, has made a horrible call with how the rain is progressing, as there's yellow flags in Sector 2 and Xavi Ross has dropped 2 positions behind Martin and Masciuli. So I think something has happened to Xavi Ross. But again, as we see Jarl Tyen going to intermediates, I think was one of the Road to Formulas going on to intermediates as well. It was, I think, Loic Mitchell and Moritz Kropp as well, who pitted after him onto the soft tyres, might be kicking themselves with the strategy call they made, as we'll take a look at what happened to Xavi Ross.
Yeah, so 2 drivers on intermediates now. Xavi Ross probably wishes he was on intermediates as he goes for that big spin there onto the grass and then gathers it up again. Very unfortunate for Xavi. But yes, Jarl Tyen is on the intermediate tyres, as is Sven Schubert, the rain, and Jose Soriano. They're all on intermediates there, those 3 drivers, as the rain continues to come down. Except it doesn't. I've just refreshed my page and it's saying that it's dry now. It certainly won't be dry on track per se, but it's certainly the rain has stopped for the time being, and that was Fletcher fighting with Maggio that we just saw there, and that's a change of position. So Fletcher has gone through on his teammate Alessandro Maggio. It looks as if Maggio left the door wide open for him in turn 1, so potentially Fletcher with more pace at this point in time. Maybe Maggio made a mistake and then just thought, right, I might as well just wait for my teammate to go through. But yes, very well done. So, big twitch from Fletcher, gathers it up on the exit of the corner. You can still see those rain droplets on the car. Usually that means that the rain is still coming down. Still, my my race view live timing is saying that it isn't. But I'll keep on. Oh, and it just ticks out of existence. Okay, very good. Anyway, Sergio Fletcher still in 2nd position now, still keeping that car under control. I know that the rain stopped, but the track will still be damp. The grip still won't be there, and as the rain comes down, it washes away all of the rubber that was on the road, and it makes it less grippy even when it goes dry again. Mark Schluter nearly 4 seconds in front in the lead of the race, possibly just trying to hang on until it starts raining again. The 2 Valley Esports drivers following his lead, and Schluter's really done well to pull away from these guys. Remember, at the very start of the race, Valley were leading. They were 1st and 2nd after qualifying. Schluter overtook them on the road and pulled away, and didn't even have a tyre advantage either. They're all on the hard tyres, as is Norbert Jakob in 5th position. Their fastest laps, though, are about 8 seconds slower than their best laps of the race, showing you just how little grip there is on track right now, Lorenzo.
Yeah, indeed, as we see Carlos Martin, we did see him go in front of Mateo Schumacher for a split second, but he goes into the pit lane, as we see that is Dylan Fisher in front of him as well in the pit lane, and Eros Mashuli in the pit lane. Whoa! Having to take evasive action there, Carlos Martin, to avoid hitting Eros Mashuli in the pit lane. That will have slowed him down quite a bit potentially, and I think he'll exit behind Jarl Tyen even. No, you'll exit just about in front of him, but I think that might have put a spanner in the plans of Carlos Martin, just going down to P17. Jarl Tyen, though, as we mentioned, the weather is now supposedly dry, meaning the track is drying out as well. He was one of those drivers who made the call to go onto the intermediates, so now, as I said, Luke Mitchell might have been kicking himself earlier. Now it might be Jarl Tyen kicking himself.
Well, on that last lap, Tyen was, I believe, the fastest driver on track. Yeah, I'm just checking the order. Tyen's lap was about 0.2 of a second faster than Moritz Kropp, who was the next fastest driver. Impressive from Moritz there on the soft tyres. But yes, Jarl was in fact the fastest driver. However, if it dries out further, he is not going to be the fastest driver anymore. He's going to start really struggling. So we'll have to wait and see if he ends up benefiting from this this strategy at all. And if it rains anymore, then obviously he will. Maggio is now in the pits, so Maggio comes in from 3rd place. That puts Jakob up to 3rd. We're watching Dylan Fisher, who's just exited the pit lane, going through into 12th on Jukka-Pekka Laulu up the inside. There he goes. And makes that move stick. And into the pits now comes Jukka-Pekka Laulu, so that makes that a little bit easier. Now, where does Maggio come out? The drivers that he was racing before this all started are through, so the likes of Munier, Frelick, Winnick, etc. Although Maggio is still potentially on for a one-stop strategy if the weather allows him to do that, which of course would be the better strategy at this point. So I think Maggio is still potentially in this race. He's on medium tyres though, and they're going to have to go longer into the race. Now, one thing that might help him, Lorenzo, is that I believe this has been declared a wet race, which means he doesn't necessarily need to use the soft tyres that he started ended the race on. I will have to look for clarification on that one, whether that rule is cancelled out if you use a set of intermediate tyres, or simply if it's declared a wet race or anything like that. But I believe that because the weather has affected this race, the drivers who qualified in the top 15 do not necessarily need to use the tyre that they qualified on. But again, I would appreciate confirmation of that if the race director or anyone else can update us on that one. Anyway, we're going to see a replay. I saw a yellow flag out there. Soltero is moving slowly on the X to the corner. I think he may just be letting people through, blue flags and all that, but he's going very slowly to be doing that. And is he still in the race, Lorenzo?
Seems to be. He carried on after letting everyone through, and it seems just, unfortunately, like Soltero is given up a bit on this race, which is really unfortunate to see a driver lose the will to continue on driving not even halfway through the race.
Well,
Norbert Jakob has exited the pit lane, and Luke Mitchell is under double attack from the Adonises and gets past both of them potentially into turn 3, as they had a bit of a scuffle between one another there.
My goodness, one of the Adonises just nearly wiped out their teammate there, went for a move on Luke Mitchell, overshot it and nearly ran straight into the side of the other Adonis car as Mitchell takes another look. We'd have to see a replay to see which way round the Adonis cars were at the time, but it's Xavi Ross who's come out on top after all of that one, with Mitchell the meat in the sandwich between the two Adonis cars. But yeah, that was a really close one there, not the kind of thing that you necessarily want to be seeing out there on track. But anyway, as for Oscar Soltero, he is continuing on in this race, but you're absolutely right that he doesn't appear particularly competitive at this time and was moving very slowly on that last lap. And that's a big shame, especially since Spark are yet to score points with both drivers in a race. So it was Masculi who made the initial dive, and then Xavi Rose coming in like an absolute wrecking ball up the inside, does make contact with his teammate, forces his teammate wide, and that allows Luke Mitchell straight back through again. So we're going to see it on board with Xavi Ross. This was very opportunistic from him. I'm not actually sure that he meant to go for that move initially. May have just reacted and ended up making that move as a result of the surprise. But I guess it ended up working for him. He did end up getting out ahead of Luke Mitchell. It's just that it ended up affecting his teammate Masculi in the process. We're going to see it again now. This is Masculi under pressure from Martin. Masculi makes the move, Martin comes through, and they both make the move this time on Luke Mitchell, Lorenzo.
Yeah, quite a lovely move, but again, as you mentioned, Xavi Ross, it was an interesting move, that one, because he got past Luke Mitchell, yes, but he also affected his teammate. He got past Masculi, who was in front of Mitchell, and then Ross barges in and gets past both of them. So I think Ross will be feeling a bit hard done by that, but again, it's lap 25 or 56, and I think that the Adonises will continue to move upwards in the field, and I think that will just be a small smudge on an overall fairly clean drawing board.
Yeah. And into the pits now comes Mark Schluter from the lead. He was the last driver still out there on hard tyres. Actually, Murno hasn't pitted, has he? Unless I'm very much mistaken. But Mark Schluter comes in and will head towards his box. And Murno actually has pitted, I think. Yes, so that means that... yeah, so he's gained quite a few places in all of this, actually. He's jumped ahead of Winnick and Fletcher. And now we're going to see the battle for the lead of the race. And this actually is the lead of the race now, as Matej Majka goes through, Mateusz Majka goes through and takes the lead of the race on those soft tyres. He was one of the only drivers to go onto soft tyres in that second stint from the head of the field. Lucas Murno is the other one, which is potentially how he's been able to make those moves work. But yes, Mateusz Majka goes through to the lead of the race and continues to lead as he holds on from Owen McGorgy. A little further back, Sergio Fletcher just set the fastest lap of the race as he was trying to catch and pass Mark Schluter and jump him as Schluter came in for his pit stop. That has ended up working, and I'm afraid that means that the intermediate tyres are a fate for the likes of Yartine and Sven Schubert. The best ones to be on are absolutely the slick tyres at this point in time, because not only are we seeing drivers going faster than the others on intermediates, but we're also seeing the fastest laps of the race up until this point. The track really does dry nice and quickly when the air temperature is 33 degrees Celsius, Lorenzo.
Yeah, I could tell that from experience personally, having lived and been raised in the Croatian south on the coast for the past, what, 19 coming on to 20 years. So yeah, this track seems to be drying out fairly quickly, but again, Croatia, the coast of Croatia, is far from what Malaysia is like, and the weather in Malaysia we've seen so many times, both in events in sim racing and just in general in real life racing and just outside of racing as well. It can be a flick of a switch really for sunny weather to change into quite horrible thunderstorms almost. But again, the weather's changed 3 times now. It started as dry, gone into wet, back to dry, back to wet again, and now back onto dry again. I think I've lost track of how many times weather's changed myself. I wouldn't be surprised if it changes again.
Now, one thing I'm interested in here, Lorenzo, is that nobody lasted until the halfway mark in the race before making their first pit stop. That says to me that the one stop is not going to be viable today, especially since not many of those drivers pitted onto to hards. So even if there are drivers going for the one stop, I don't think it's going to be quick. I think we're going to see a second pit window in maybe 15 to 20 laps from now.
I would not be surprised. We saw people on hard tyres pitting before lap, I think before lap 25 even. So yeah, I don't think the one stop is going to be, as you said, a viable strategy. I think anyone who was trying to go for a one stop was relying far too heavily on weather being consistent, which again, as I said a bit earlier, at Malaysia just isn't something that you can count on really for weather to be consistent. And yeah, I think two-stop strategies are going to be the way to go here. We saw, for example, was Lucas Murno quite twitchy outside of the final turn, and has lost any time he had on Shimon Frelick, meaning he'll stay in P5 for now.
Yeah.
For example, we saw Alessandro Maggio go from hards to mediums, and those mediums are not going to last for the entirety of the race. He will have to switch onto another compound of tyres at some point in the race. It just remains to be seen which compound of tyres that will be.
So, an update in the YouTube chat, Wopke Hoekstra is saying that Rule 4.4.1 states that the top 15 must use their qualifying compound at some point in the race, unless switching to intermediate or wet compounds. So, I was under the impression that if anybody switched to intermediates or softs for cause, then that would mean that nobody has to use the softs or the softs. Even the drivers who qualified on the softs in the top 15, but I was mistaken, so thank you for the correction there, Wopke. So there are still drivers out there who will absolutely need to use the soft tyre, the same set that they qualified on. Not necessarily the exact same set, but the same compound that they qualified on to make their race legal. Sergio Fletcher will be one of those drivers, Mark Schluter as well, and Alessandro Maggio, who of course has gone hard so far. Norbert Jakob has gone hard medium. And then there are a few other drivers out there as well who will absolutely need to make another stop. I will say, I think every driver out there will need to make another stop. I'm just talking about who will need to in terms of the actual making their race legal kind of thing. But yes, thank you to Wopke for clarifying that one. We're watching Alessandro Maggio now as he's lining up Maggio Monet, goes to the inside line, makes that dive, late on the brakes. Finds the grip on the inside of the corner there. Sometimes you can outbrake yourself into there, but that was a good move. Meanwhile, I'm afraid to say that Sven Schubert has become the third retirement from this race. Ed Hunter pointed that out in the YouTube chat, so thanks for that, Ed. But yes, very unfortunate for Sven Schubert to be the third retirement in this one. He was one of the 3 drivers that took the risk, the gamble of going onto intermediate tyres, and it has not worked for them. So, we're over the halfway point in the race now, Lorenzo. 24 drivers remaining, 23 of those still on the lead lap, and who knows how many still in contention for the win.
I think there's a certain amount of people still in contention for the win. Obviously, with how the weather's been today. Again, talking about the weather, bit of a broken record here, but again, you have to talk about the weather with how it's been so far this race. We see Mateusz Schmeicher's peeled away quite a bit from Owen McGorgy. It's a 1.3 second gap, but behind McGorgy seems to be a bit of a train stretching all the way down to, I think that is P7 currently, with more drivers set on their way. But again, with how the weather's been so far today, I don't think you can quite comfortably say any one of these drivers is completely certain for a win. It could be that, for example, someone like Jarl Time, with how the weather's been, is still in contention for a win. It's highly unlikely, yes, but it can still happen, as Lucas Murno goes for a dive bomb and hits like Meunier, loses his front wing, and I think that might be both of them out there.
Absolute disaster there, and oh my goodness, sorry, I'm just seeing a replay of that one. I'd like to get a replay on stream soon, but yes, a lot of damage to that car. You can see the front wing completely missing, and that is such a shame because Lucas Murno was absolutely on for his best result. You can even see smoke out the back of the car, out of the engine now, so there is absolutely damage to quite a few components of that one. We're going to see a replay of it. This is on board with Lucas Murno. You can see that he goes for a dive bomb maneuver. Whoa! And he's only going for one position there and just completely misses his braking point and goes into the back and into the side of Loic Meunier, and then they get tangled together and he's struggling to get it back in the road, into the road. I'm afraid to say a steward's inquiry on that one would only go one way, so we're on board with Loic Meunier here, and he's going to know absolutely nothing about this until then, when he gets absolutely walloped, and then he gets an even bigger hit in the side pod as the car comes around and just crosses path with Lucas Murno's Lion GP car. And you can see his suspension. You can see he's driving basically sideways out of the corner. Loic Meunier is not going to be scoring highly in this Grand Prix. In fact, he'll be lucky to finish the thing.
I don't think he'll be particularly happy with Lucas Murno. Lucas Murno is completely out of the race. Again, as I said, Loic Meunier, I think he's going to be retiring from this one as well. And we talked about early in the race, well before the race even started, about Jan Granqvist quitting the championship and how Loic Meunier might have an easier job.
Yeah, that's made it harder
to win. Now, oh, Szymon Frelick, was there contact between himself and Schluter there? Was there a tap from on the back from the German onto the Polish driver's car? God, I'm slurring.
Yeah, that's okay.
That looks quite dubious from that angle.
No, there was no contact. Szymon was he was on the curb and it caused the car to twitch. So Frelick with a little bit of a twitch but gathered it up very nicely. We're going to see a replay now. And yeah, if you look at the way that Szymon's car gets on the curb, he's fighting there with Fletcher. And yeah, just loops it. And he's so lucky to have gathered that up, but that took all of his car control. That's kind of seat of your pants kind of driving, where you feel that the car is going and you react to it just at the right time. Here's Tomasz Wok now making a move on Moritz Krop. Making a move is possibly a bit of an ambitious turn of phrase there, but yeah, Tomasz Wok coming from a long way back and tangling with Moritz Krop, and then rejoins the road in 16th position. As we speak, remember that points go down to 15th in Super League, so he's just outside of that. And up in front now is Sergio Fletcher going around the outside of Owen McGorgy, and they're both right on the tail of the race leader Mateusz Schmeicher as it all comes together. The accordion effect in full swing now, and there's going to be a change for the lead. Fletcher, who's just got past McGorgy, is going to go for another move, and McGorgy comes back at him up the inside, and oh my goodness, gets on a damp patch. They're three wide, they're banging wheels. Contact one way, contact the other. We got Frelick on the inside, McGorgy's on the inside, Schluter's on the grass on the outside. Frelick comes back through again, one lap after his massive twitch. And McGorgy holds on to second. Micah takes another look, and after leading for so long, Micah goes from first to third in about the space of half a corner. And Frelick goes up to fourth, Schluter goes down to fifth. Norbert Jakobs looking behind us all like, yes please. What was all that, Lorenzo?
I don't know. A Fletcher, absolutely lovely move by the Spaniard there on Mateusz Schmeicher for the lead. But the way it looks to me from up here is that both Owen McGorgy and Mark Schluter got perhaps a bit too ambitious and maybe a bit too greedy. And we've seen that a lot in this race. going into turn 1. Drivers being a bit too ambitious and a bit too greedy, trying to get moves done as fast as possible into turn 1. And again, we saw what happened with Lucas Min and Loic Meunier. We saw some other incidents as well. I think some of the things that happened in turn 1 today, you wouldn't have seen potentially in a series like Formula Sprint 2 or Academy. And again, some of them are just mind-boggling, but at the same time, some of them have worked out quite well, as we saw with Sergio Fletcher, as Mateo Schmeichel on those softs goes into the pit lane and will go onto a new set of tyres. Remains to be seen which ones, as Alessandro Maggio now trying to get past Norbert Jakob here on the outside of turn 1 and won't be able to do so.
Yeah, Frelick and Schluter were both about to freight train their way past Mateo Schmeichel, who I keep calling Mathieu, and I'm very annoyed at myself for it, sorry about that. Mark Schluter now trying to line up Shimon Frelick, going to the driver's left. Frelick has the drive going into turn 4, but yes, Micah was able to pull out of it just at the last minute, go into the pit lane. I think he knew that he was going to be passed by 2 drivers if he didn't, and was probably planning to pit then anyway. But yes, up in front, Sergio Fletcher has gained 3 seconds on the last lap over Owen McGorky then. That is really impressive as he builds out that advantage. Meanwhile, McGorky, Frelick, Schluter and Jakob are all still fighting further back, and it got really leery a lap ago as they were banging wheels 3 wide into that second corner. And I'm really glad to see that they all ended up pointing the right direction after that one, because that could have been people locking tyres, locking wheels together, spinning around, flipping over, and I'm very glad to see that that wasn't the result of that particular tangle. Mark Schluter now has the DRS, gets the rear wing open on the back of Shimon Frelick. Down the straight into the corner, and this is not normally an overtaking opportunity. You certainly could dive bomb someone here, and we're probably going to see it on the last lap of the race, but the trouble is, if you do that, they're going to get you straight back again onto the straight. So now is where you want to make that move. You can see McGorky going over, everyone follows him. Frelick now makes the move, so takes a look out to driver's left. Oh, gets a little touch in the rear from Mark Schluter. Frelick is still there on the inside. McGorky will do well not to turn in. And Frelick does go through past McGorky. Oh, we got somebody smoking their engine, and Schluter's trying to line it up. Was it not McGorky that time? Was it not McGorky?
Like Schluter again. Schluter we saw early in the race.
It is Schluter.
It is again in.
And that's the problem with tucking right up behind somebody. He's going to try to go around the outside of Owen McGorky, but there's no grip out there. McGorky struggling with the grip as well, running wide himself. Norbert Jakob has to go defensive from Alessandro Maggio into the double right-hander. That's not a good exit to the corner for Owen McGorky. Schluter gets the run. Now he goes to the outside and may well be able to hold on to it. There's going to be a long right-hander now where he'll be able to maintain his advantage. Brakes later, great move there over several corners for Mark Schluter. He started it about half a lap ago, and after all of that lining up, it's finally paid off, and Schluter's up into 3rd, Lorenzo.
But again, we've seen his engine smoking again. We've seen it happen early in the race. It seemed okay for quite a while, but it seems to be back again. And with about 23 laps left in the race, again, I do wonder, he will have to pit again for a new set of tyres at some point, obviously. But I think the bigger question for Mark Schluter is, can he keep his engine functional for the entirety of the race?
Side by side, up in front, Frelick and Schluter for 2nd position. Schluter goes for 2nd and gets it. In the background, Jakob gets McGorky as well. It's all change, as we've seen so many times this race, as they go into corners nearly 4 wide. Little touch there from Maggio into the back of McGorky, and that just shows you the momentum. You can be at the front, and is that raindrops on Maggio's car? I'll check that out in just a minute. But yes, what I was saying is the momentum. If you get overtaken by one person, you will be overtaken by more unless you're very, very careful or a long way ahead of anyone else. And if you've made one overtake, why not go for another one? You got the momentum, go for the slingshot maneuver. Now we're going through the double right-hander. This is sometimes an overtaking opportunity. Last lap, of course, McGorky was not quick on the exit of this corner. Maggio nearly cutting the turn there, trying to line up Owen McGorky, but McGorky holds firm. Now let's check on the weather really quickly, because I think I see some raindrops. There are some raindrops. It's saying it's raining. raining. I'm not sure quite how much it's raining at this point in time. It's always hard to tell. Doesn't look quite as heavy as it was before, per se. But we'll keep an eye on it and see if the grip stays in the track.
Yeah, again, as mentioned, Mark Schluter needing to pit for new tires. And Alessandro Maggio, oh, now he's smoking as well. So it's not only Mark Schluter who's battling his engine, it's Alessandro Maggio as well, seemingly now. As we saw him a bit loose coming out of the penultimate turn there, and that's Shimon Frelick going into the pit lane.
Frelick into the pits.
Yeah, we're not quite certain how heavy the rain is right now, but I mentioned Schluter needing to pit for new tires, and Frelick goes into the pit lane. Will we see drivers going on to the intermediates yet again? Or is it just not the time yet? Is the track not wet enough? I do wonder what Shimon Frelick will go on to now. We can stick around and see.
It's
It
Inters.
is.
Well, that's a good indication of what the track's like. I don't think that Shimon would go on to Inters unless he's absolutely sure, because it's been stop, start all day. Is it finally starting for good? Maciej Winnick into 6th position there is having to fend off Dylan Fisher. That's a good move from Maciej. Apparently it is a bit heavier again. Chris Williamson, race director, letting us know that the rain is about 14% now. That is usually around the time that DRS gets deactivated. So I believe that we do have heavier rain this time. It should stick around for a little bit longer, and we can see an indication of that in the fact that we've now got more drivers in the pits as well. Tomasz Vok is in, Jarl Tyen is in, Tom Vandervoort and Jose Soriano. A lot of the drivers at the back who have less to lose are making that as well. And was that a little too early from Frelick, or can he make it work? He's got a bit of clean air in front of him on track, so why not? Winnick still fighting with Fisher, but also McGorgy as well. McGorgy seems to be struggling more than most at this time of the race. We've seen him really struggling through those right-handers, especially the faster ones. And they're both going to line him up on the exit of the corner. Now, who decides to pit is the next question. And they're 3 wide. Winnick in the middle. McGorgy is all the way on driver's right. Fisher is on driver's left. And McGorgy into the pits, unsurprisingly so. I think he's only the 2nd driver in from the top 10, though, with the other one being his teammate, and somebody else in the background there as well. So Frelick is on Inters, Tomasz Vok, Jarl Tyen, Tom Vandervoort. I saw a move. That's Fisher on the inside of Winnick. Fisher makes the move stick. Nicely done up the inside. McGorgy is in. Xavi Ross was the other driver to make that pit stop, and we'll see if that's also intermediates, but I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be, Lorenzo.
No, me neither. And Luke Mitchell in the pit lane as well. I mentioned Luke Mitchell earlier when the 2nd streak of rain started.
The rain stopped.
Has it stopped again? And that's Xavi Ross on mediums. And everyone's gone on a dry compound of tires from the people who've just pit. Luke Mitchell's gone on softs again. So again, I was going to mention Luke Mitchell, who went on softs a couple of laps before the rain began in its 2nd stint, and how he might have made a bad call, and then the rain stopped. He's gone on to a dry compound now when the rain was ongoing, and as he's exiting, the rain stopped. So he might have made a stellar call again, and it feels like Lunak might be doing quite unintentional, or maybe well-intentional, masterclass in, well, just pit tactic here.
Since the start, the rain keeps starting and it won't stop stopping, and that just means that drivers who have ducked into the pits for intermediates may end up with egg on their face at the end of this one. The 2 TOP esports drivers are going to be caught out there on a drying track unless it starts raining again, which of course we have no reason to suggest that it won't, because it's done that so many times throughout the course of this race. This reminds me of Hockenheim a couple of years ago. You remember that crazy race at Hockenheim where it just would not stop going on and off and on and off, and we ended up with some drivers in the points that day who we did not expect to be anywhere near the points, and Lucas Murno was one of the drivers who benefited from it. But yeah, Shimon Frelick here up into the top 10 as we speak, and I'm going to keep an eye on his lap times to see if they're any good. That one won't be, of course, because he's just come out of the pits, but we'll wait and see what his next few laps end up being. But yes, very unfortunate for those who have picked wrong in terms of the weather. It's like being a goalkeeper facing up against a penalty shootout and picking wrong every time, going the wrong way when the striker takes the shot. And sometimes that's just the way it happens. You've got to anticipate these things, and you anticipate wrong. Tom van der Voort, though, on the tail of Moritz Krop, looks to have the grip for now. The intermediate tyre is decent, and we'll see what the lap times are when they start coming in. Meanwhile, we're 38 laps into this race. Fletcher leads by nearly 4 seconds over Schluter and Jaka, both True North cars on the podium as we speak. And up the inside goes Tom van der Voort on Moritz Krop. That's for 19th position, so not points as we speak, but it could turn into points later on. You never know what could happen on a day like today, and Tom van der Voort does finish off that move by going around. Yes, Dylan Fisher is 5th, then it's Maciej Winnick and Carlos Martin, the two HRTs are 6th and 7th, then it's Eris Masculi, Matej Schmeicher and Shimon Frelich, and there is Maciej Winnick into the pits behind Dylan Fisher, and we wait to see what tyres they go on to. Some of these drivers, I think, still need to use soft tyres potentially. They could theoretically go to the end on softs from here, I think. We'll see what Winnick does. And it is those softs. We knew he had to use them. Dylan Fisher also on softs, and that's very close in the pit lane there as Winnick comes out just in front of him and covers him off. And I think now is a good time to use soft tyres if you're going to use them at any point in this race. Don't forget, at the very start of the race, I was saying it was strange that that some people were on anything other than soft tyres, considering the weather. But you have to use soft tyres at some point if you're not going to use inters, and if you're going to, then why not now when you have that clear track in front of you, or at least more of a clear track than you would have had on the first lap, and the opportunity to stretch those legs and use the softs while you have them, Lorenzo.
Yeah, absolutely. There seem to have been so many people today who've made right calls and people who made wrong calls. One of which being Jarl Tyne. This is the second time in this race where Jarl Tyne has seen the rain come in for inters, only for the rain to stop immediately afterwards. And again, Jarl Tyne has had anything possible that could have gone wrong, go wrong for him this round. And it is a bit heartbreaking for the Norwegian. But again, there's still 17 laps left in the race. And we have the weather's been. Again, I repeat myself, I wouldn't be surprised if something happens again which allows him to get back into the points. Never mind, Jarl Tyne has decided to call it quits and he's DNF from the race.
So Jarl Tyne out of the race as well. We heard from Sven Schubert earlier, his DNF was a disconnection, so nothing that he could really have done about that one. But Jarl Tyne, we don't quite know what's happened to him. It could just be that he's called it a day, knowing that he's not going to score points with everything that has happened to him. So very unfortunate stuff. We have 21 drivers remaining in this race because Oscar Soltero has also called it quits. He was 2 laps down already with some issues that have cropped up over the course of his race. Jukka-Pekka Lalu currently in the points, going to drop potentially outside of the top 15. Loic Meunier might get back into the points. I'll tell you what, if Loic gets points at the end of today, he will richly deserve them. He already deserves the points. The accident that he got caught up in was clearly not his fault. But anyway, Loic Meunier back up into the points as we speak. We are watching the leaders, and there's good reason to be watching these guys. Mark Schluter that last time around was 9/10 of a second faster than Sergio Fletcher. There's two seconds in it. So obviously, mathematics will tell you that at that rate, it will be just over 2 laps until Schluter is with Sergio Fletcher and able to make that move. You can never quite bank on it being consistent like that, but we'll see if there's a difference between them on that lap. And we'll try to take a look at the race view lap times when they come in. But yeah, that last lap time 4/10 quicker for Mark Schluter, so still gaining on Sergio Fletcher. Not quite as much as he did on the lap before that, but he's definitely pushing and definitely getting closer. Meanwhile, the top driver on Inters is still Shimon Frelich. His lap time was 1.5 seconds slower, so I'm afraid the Inters are already fading again, and all of their desperate hoping for rain is not yet paying off. 2 drivers into the pits this time, Masculi and Frelich, so Frelich has called quits on that particular strategy. strategy, and I'm afraid that for TOP Esports that has not worked at all. They could have done with splitting their strategy, I think, having one driver go onto the slicks, one driver go onto the inters and one driver stay on the slicks, just to see what the weather was going to do. But sometimes if one strategy looks as if it's going to work out and you're absolutely convinced that it's going to work out, or you think that it's more likely than not, then you think you might as well go for it. But unfortunately, that's turned what looks like an odds-on double podium for TOP Esports into, I mean, they'll struggle to get in the top 10 now, at least with Shimon Frelick. McGorgy's still up there in 6th place, but yeah, very unlucky for Shimon.
Yeah, we've seen again, a couple of drivers make wrong calls, a couple of drivers make bad calls.
I'm going to correct myself, actually. They did split their strategy. McGorgy did stay on slicks. The reason I was confused is because he went on to another set of slicks. Sergio Fletcher, meanwhile, has pitted for his final stop. So Fletcher makes that pit stop. Mark Schluter goes back to the lead of the race. Jakob pits as well. Now, how long has Mark been out there for? We saw him pitting on lap 25. So Mark may well still need to make another stop himself. In terms of tyres, he's done hard and medium. Yeah, so Mark will need to make another pit stop towards the end of this one, so this is not over yet by any means. But yes, Jakob comes out behind Fletcher, about 5 seconds back. And so there's Norbert Jakob. He's about 8 seconds back from Fletcher, actually. And there's Mathieu Winnick coming out in 8th position. Jeffrey Fournier also making the stop that last time around as well. But yeah, Schluter leading the race by nearly 14 seconds as we speak, but still yet to make that second pit stop. I think that one's worked out pretty well for Sergio Fletcher, actually, because not only has he maintained that position from Norbert Jakob, but he's also pulled away slightly. And now if he can get past Mateusz Majka, God, I'm so sorry about this, Mateusz Majka, then he will be even more comfortable with that position.
Well, as I see, Yuka Lalu, is that him making a move on Thomas Schwachel P16? Or was Lalu defending from him? I didn't quite get an eye on that, as we see further back as well, Vandervoort making a move on Soppanen for P19, so there's action further back as well as there is in the front. But I think we turn our attention to this. There we go. Fletcher making a quite comfortable move on Mateusz Majka down the back straight on a fresh set of softs. That is Majka on mediums. Majka will have DRS, but I don't think he'll be close enough to try and strike Fletcher as he goes. Well, it was P3, but as Mathieu and Schluter have pit, he now goes into P1.
Absolutely, and that is the move for the net lead of the race as well. Sergio Fletcher goes through to the lead, and I saw someone in the YouTube chat just a minute ago, Sherman128, saying that Fletcher has come out right behind Majka. That stint of his was insane. We've seen that so many times. Was it Bahrain where we weren't even speaking about... No, it wasn't Bahrain, it was the race before, Suzuka, where we weren't really speaking about Sergio Fletcher, and then he came out of nowhere in that second stint, just made it work for him. And we do see that from Fletcher from time to time, but yes, absolutely, he is potentially on course to fight for the win in this one. He's already got 2 seconds over Mateusz Majka, and looks to be pulling away even from Mark Schluter, who is the other driver who's been really competitive in this particular race and in that last stint. So Fletcher leads from Majka and Schluter, then Jakob and McGorgy, although McGorgy's still fighting away with Mathieu Winnick back in 5th and 6th positions, and with Dylan Fisher, actually. That's a good scrap over 5th, 6th and 7th. And Ed Hunter in the YouTube chat saying Fletcher needs to be careful he doesn't chew through his tyres here. That's absolutely right. Fletcher, remember, soft tyres. He needed to use them at a certain point in the race. He is using them now. Majka has already used those soft tyres, so he's on mediums. Still pretty good tyres, but the trouble with that is that he is in the position to benefit if Fletcher chews through those tyres. So Fletcher just has to employ the tactic at this point of winning at the slowest speed possible, which he's not doing. He's just set the fastest lap of the race at a 1:34.444. That's nearly a second. That's over a second faster than his previous best lap of the race. So Sergio Fletcher absolutely flying at this point in time. Actually, not over a second, but it was quite a lot faster than his previous best lap of the race. And Mark Schluter has nothing that he can. And Schluter, sorry, has gone up into second place. So Schluter is up into second place ahead of Micah, who is third. Jakob still fourth. Winnick still fifth.
Yeah, and there's a couple of drivers in the top 10 who are not on soft tires. The vast majority, well, I say the vast majority, I think 3/5 of the drivers currently in the top 10 are on soft. The drivers currently not on softs are Mateusz Micah, who we see there in P3, and Owen McGorgy and Xavi Ross, those three being on mediums. Maciej Mlinek is on hards though, so they will be the ones suffering in this last into the race, pace-wise, compared to the soft runners in front and behind them. And I do think we'll see some of those drivers fall, and I'm not quite sure whether McGorgy and Micah, and for that, in that case, Mlinek and Ross as well. I don't know whether they used softs yet in this race, and if they haven't, are they potentially leaving it a bit too late to switch onto them?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, obviously, you want to do it later in the race rather than too early, because they do wear. Here's Alessandro Maggio getting past Xavi Ross now, goes up the inside into the final turn. I said earlier that's not normally the place you want to make the overtake, but I think that he's already got enough of a gap that he's not going to be repassed down the straight. Good move from Alessandro Maggio there to go up into 8th position. And yeah, this hasn't quite worked for him the same way that it worked for his teammate Sergio Fletcher. I still think he's going to be on for a strong result here today, but Fletcher looks odds on to win the race with 13 laps still to go. Obviously, still a long way to go, and considering the amount that we've seen today with weather and everything like that, we certainly can't call a winner just yet, but Sergio Fletcher looks odds on to do it. Meanwhile, Alessandro Maggio with that move on the last lap, fastest lap of the race, so it's gone from one of the Vale Esports drivers to the other one. It's looking good for Vale at this point in time, Lorenzo.
It is indeed, but again, it's lap 34.56, so there's still, what is that, 11? Oh, that's Xavi Ross on fire!
Wow. Yeah, so absolutely a DNF. You cannot get that car back to the pits. The rain will be doing a little bit to try to put it out, but that looks like a big fire, I'm afraid. So Xavi Ross is out of this race. Another driver, just like Maciej Mlinek, just like Alessandro Maggio, who has absolutely no luck in Super League. And it just goes on him. Absolute explosion into the corner there, and that is an engine that we will not be seeing in action again. Actually, that's worrying. That's really concerning, because I've just looked at the engine specifications. That was a fresh engine at the start of this race. Xavi Ross had a fresh engine at the start of this race. If it went on an old engine that you wouldn't have to use again, then that would not necessarily be the worst thing ever. But the trouble is, that's going to put Ross low on engines for the rest of the year, Lorenzo.
So that's going to be a massive hit for Adonis for the remainder of the season. But focusing on this race, I think the man we're looking at right now, Mark Schluter, we've seen his engine smoking about, it was 2 or 3 times I think we've seen his engine smoking at various points in the race. If Xavi Ross on an entirely new engine has managed to catch fire like that, then I think Mark Schluter in these last 10 laps, he might be a bit worried that his engine might not last either, and I said that it could be something that Schluter will have to think of to keep his engine cool enough to not go on him the way we saw Xavi Ross's engine go, and we saw Alessandro Maggio's engine smoking at some point in the race as well, and he just went past Xavi Ross before it happened. So looking back in his mirrors, I think Maggio might have felt a shiver down his spine as well. So those two might be 2 drivers to keep an eye on, not just for their moves up the field, but for their engines as well.
Yeah, Alex Laho saying that Schluter's engine might go out as well. Now, I didn't know this. According to Sherman128, so he was asking, do engine failures still count? I was told last season that wasn't a thing anymore. Carter McColeman of True North Motorsport has confirmed that the engine does not fully die. It will be at 70% next race. That's interesting. So that means that potentially he will still have an engine. He won't have that engine completely ticked off and unable to use again. And that's a little bit of relief, at least, that he'll still have a 70% engine to use in future Grand Prix. But still, clearly not a good omen for this particular race. Xavi Ross out of it. The good thing for Mark Schluter and also Alessandro Maggio, who we saw smoking earlier on, is that they were only smoking when they were tucked right up behind another car. And then as soon as they got that fresh air that they were ramming through their air boxes and their air intakes, they seemed fine. They seemed absolutely fine, and they seem fine now as well. So without meaning to curse it, I think Schluter and Maggio should be okay, so long as they're relatively sensible, especially on the straights. They may not be able to use quite as much slipstream as other drivers can use, but they can still make do with it. And with fewer than 10 laps to go in the race, let's hope that I'm right.
Again, there are nuances to this. Maggio, he's got quite a lot of traffic in front of him, seen right behind Owen McGorgy. And again, you mentioned that we saw their engine smoking right as they were tucked in behind someone, which is what Maggio is doing right now. He's getting a slipstream off of Owen McGorgy and trying to make a move into the final hairpin, which he hasn't been able to do, meaning he'll have to stick behind him yet again, and yet again stay in that slipstream to double it with the DRS and triple it with the battery to try and catch him. So Maggio's engine, if he stays behind McGorgy as he gets almost wiped off, he gets past McGorgy, but I was going to say if he stayed behind him any longer, it could have affected his engine to the point where we saw another Xavi Ross situation. And looking forwards at Mark Schluter, he's got quite a gap on Sergio Fletcher in front, it's 4 seconds, but if he catches him, he will have to be in that slipstream to gain as much speed on possible on Fletcher. If Fletcher can put on a well enough defensive performance for Schluter to potentially get psyched out and try and get anything done to get past him, including staying behind him to get slipstream, again it could happen to Schluter as well. There are again nuances to this that drivers have to think of going forwards, where again that is now 9 laps left in the race, I think 8.
Yeah, and while all this has been going on, we haven't mentioned enough that Norbert Jakob is now back into 3rd position ahead of Mateusz Majka, and already he's pulled 2 seconds out ahead of him as well. So for True North Motorsport, just 2 weeks after their first podium, it looks as if they're on for a double podium with both Mark Schluter and Norbert Jakob, who of course is also set for his second podium and second successive podium in Super League. We're going to see a replay now, and this is of the move actually of Norbert Jakob as he slipstreams his way up to the back of Mateusz Majka. Mateusz Majka has been doing such a good job here today. Yes, he's fading into this last stint on those hard tyres, but even so, consider that last week he was only 15th position in the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, and the fact that he's a stand-in driver racing in that seat that is usually held by Tom Stevens. And 4th place, if he's able to hold it, will be very impressive for him, and you know, punching above his weight. Owen McGorky now fighting with Alessandro. That's not Alessandro Maggio, that's Dylan Fisher. So Fisher coming through from behind. He does do well in changeable conditions, doesn't he? We've seen that in the past. I believe that Hockenheim race that I mentioned before, Dylan Fisher was one of the main players in that. And Owen McGorky still able to hold him off, but Dylan Fisher looking racy there on those soft tyres, Lorenzo.
I think Fisher will be able to get past McGorgy with, I won't say relative ease, but seeing as McGorgy is on older medium tyres than Fisher's soft, I think Fisher will be able to get past him in the next 2, maybe 3 laps. And I see Carlos Martin in the background as well, not far from the pairing here. I think if McGorgy isn't careful enough, I think Carlos Martin might be on to challenge him as well. But first he needs to be careful about Dylan Fisher. He's not going to be able to attack here into the final corner, but he'll have a good run up into the first turn.
Out of the final corner. Is the DRS still active? Yes, it is. Of course it is. It's been active the whole time as far as I'm aware. Gets it open. approaches that first corner, slipstreams, possible push to pass if he's got any left. Up the inside he goes, and Dylan Fisher does make that move for 7th position. Well done from Dylan Fisher there, as McGorgy gets slightly off his line. Now can McGorgy come back at him up towards turn 4? The battery does regenerate, just as in the real world of Grand Prix racing, so he may still have another chance to come back at him. Whoa, Fisher comes right over, and they nearly rub wheels, and McGorgy's on the outside now, finds the curb, and Fisher gets the run, and he'll have the grip out there. He's on the racing line, but he's going to be forced off it because McGorgy's still on the inside, and Fisher makes the move stick. Really good bit of driving there from both of them, giving each other just enough room and no more. And Dylan Fisher has got that 7th position, Lorenzo.
He has, but again, I mentioned Carlos Martin last lap at this exact part of the track. He's now been allowed to catch up to the two of them from their battling, and I think Carlos Martin, oh, as Robin McGorgy slides through the turn there, Carlos Martin gets past him with ease, and I think Carlos Martin and Dylan Fisher now will be battling for P7 between themselves. I think McGorgy's out of that battle completely.
McGorgy struggled with that corner all day, actually. He made a couple of mistakes there earlier on, and I think that's been a bit of a bane for him in this race. But yes, down into 9th position now as Carlos Martin goes through. Can Carlos now set about Dylan Fisher and make that move stick? We go on to the start-finish straight again. There's about maybe 4.5 tenths between the two of them. Actually, I'm looking at McGorgy and Martin, aren't I? As McGorgy is closing in on the back of Martin's car, not close enough to have a revenge attack. But yes, Martin, if he can get within 7 tenths per second, will get the DRS once again from Dylan Fisher. If he can get within 4 tenths per second, he should have a chance of attacking for 7th position. And then we'll see if he can make it stick. He is now within 7 tenths of a second. Some of that is due to where they are on the track. And you may see the gap come out again. McGorgy slightly too much curb, slightly twitchy on the exit. He's got a little bit of a gap to play with. He's got 6 seconds back to Aris Masculi, so he should be okay for the time being. But a little bit leery there, and doesn't look the most comfortable out there at this point in time, Lorenzo.
No, but I don't think he'll be under any threat from the drive behind, as again, as you said, 6.5 seconds between himself and Aris Masculi in P10. So I think McGorgy is safe. But the other medium tyre runner in the top 10, being Mateusz Schmeichel in P4, the gap between himself and Alessandro Maggio seems to be ever so slowly whittling down, and I'm curious to see whether Mateusz Schmeichel will be caught by Alessandro Maggio by the end of this race. Sergio Fletcher, we saw there, I think it was lapping, that was Thomas Schwach, or was it one of the Road to Formulas. But yeah, again, I think that's not the valet to pay attention to currently. I think it's Alessandro Maggio who we should keep an eye on.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mentioned earlier that Micah was fading a little bit. Maggio not approaching him at quite the speed that the True North cars did before, although he is definitely quicker at this point in time, about half a second quicker on that last lap. And with 5 laps to go, it's going to be tight. I think he might just catch him towards the end, but he'll have maybe 1 or 2 attempts, and that's it. Bit of a grandstand finish potentially being set up in that one, just as we had in the Superlights race. The only difference is that that one was for the overall lead of the Grand Prix. And Martin has made the move on Fisher, so Martin up into 7th position now, ahead of Fisher. Once again, the 2 HRTs are in 6th and in 7th positions.
Yeah, again, I mentioned Carlos Martin and Dylan Fisher will have a battle for P7 after they both got past McGorgy. It might not look as exciting as I would have thought, but having said that, I think I might take that immediately back, as Dylan Fisher seems to be a bit faster through Sector 2 compared to Carlos Martin, and maybe there is still a battle here ongoing, as McGorgy a bit loose there behind them. He is still not that far from them, but I don't think there'll be anything in it for him. And looking back a bit, while I was talking about the trio here, Loic Meunier, amazingly, even after all the damage that he sustained from that crash with Lucas Murner early on in the race, he's gotten past Jukka-Pekka Laulu for P14, so we will still score points, which will be important going down the line for the championship. And it's amazing how Loic Meunier can still, even after the damage he sustained, get points.
Exactly, and he's doubled his points with that move from 1 to 2, because that's how many you get for 14th position. He's a little far back from Shimon Frelich in front, and to be honest, how the mighty have fallen in this race, with Frelich and Munier fighting for 13th and 14th positions. Early on, it looked as if that could end up being the battle for the win, but anyway, down in 13th and 14th, it looks as if there's too much of a gap between them, about 5 seconds, so Frelich should hold on to that one. Here is Maggio now. He is less than 1.5 seconds behind Mateusz Majka, and yeah, I think he is going to catch him for the end of this race. He's not going to have much time to make that move, be a lap, but I think he will catch him for the race, and we do have a fight on here for 4th position between Majka and Maggio, and who gets, I think, will rightly deserve it. The Valley Esport seems to be one of the quickest cars on track today, along with the Road Sport cars and the 8RTs. Mateusz Majka, the old THR, strapped to the outside, an absolute especially after that poor start at the very beginning of heavy tire, and it Mateusz because that he was going thinking about it. He's now lost 2 positions there, and he's gone into 13th position. Wow, okay, so I was wrong about that one. But anyway, back to the THR thing. I was talking to Toby Davis around. He was saying that haven't really got on top of the new regulations yet, the 2026 cars. They found them very difficult, but whatever the case, I'm being told I sound a little bit robotic about that. Lorenzo, would you like to take over for it?
Yeah, I thought it was my internet because I saw my internet connection a bit dodgy, but no, yeah, we said that Owen McGorgy might not be able to get back into this fight between themselves. Well, no, oh, never mind, I take that back immediately. I was going to say that McGorgy might in the end be able to get back in that fight between himself and Martin. Not between himself and Martin, but between Dylan Fisher and Carlos Martin for P7. But again, he seems to be struggling so much on those medium tires. I think he was one of the earliest people to pit onto the tires for his final stint, those being said medium, so he's struggling quite heavily with tire wear compared to everyone else. And I think that will come back to bite him in the end, because Eros Mashuli is closing down quite rapidly on him. And again, I mentioned Alessandro Maggio being able to catch Mateusz Majka by the end of this race. He has done so. He thought of a move into turn 1 and turn 2. It didn't materialize, as Dylan Fisher makes his move on Carlos Martin into turn 1 and makes it stick. So Dylan Fisher back into P7. Alessandro Maggio, though, he won't have many chances to get past Mateusz Majka for that P4, as that's Moritz Kropp ending his race 2 laps early as well, so shame to see him go a bit prematurely. But keeping our eyes up on the front, it's Maggio against Majka, and it's going to be Martin against Fisher, because McGorgy has dropped off massively, and Mashuli is now within 4/10 of him, and the yellow flags waving around. We don't know exactly what for, but I can't imagine it would have been that important for the point scorers. But again, I'm pushing the back straight now. Alessandro Maggio, he is well within DRS range of Mateusz Majka, and is just about around 4/10 behind, so he might be able to make a move into the final turn here. No, never mind, a bit slower on the exit of the penultimate turn, so he will have to wait for the turn 1 hairpin now.
And he dives! And a really late move, and he goes through on the inside, but that of course leaves him very vulnerable on this straight. Majka may have a chance to come back at him. They're going on to their final lap of the race now. I said he'd have about a lap to do it. He's done it slightly early. Masculi's also pulled a move on McGorky. We'll get to that in a minute. Back around the outside goes Mateusz Majka, and Maggio sticks with him, but twitches. Oh, a little bit of a rub of wheels on the exit of the corner. He's still got the inside line. Micah does go back through, and that's the problem with making the move at the final corner, because then you have to hold it for the whole of the next straight, and Maggio tries to sell him the dummy and go up to the inside, but Micah holds him off, and now he's got the rest of the lap to try to do the same thing. Meanwhile, Sergio Fletcher continues to lead this Grand Prix as we head into the final sector for the final time. He's done it so well in changeable conditions where it would have been so easy to throw it away with a mistimed pit stop. But he's managed to hold on and withstand the conditions. And remember, this wasn't just a strategic race, as Maggio takes another look at Mateusz Micah. It's going to be another one of those finishes where we don't exactly know where to look. He's coming towards the final few corners of this particular lap now, and I think it may come down to a last corner dive from Alessandro Maggio. Meanwhile, Sergio Fletcher becomes a GPVWC race winner with a fantastic drive. I said earlier that it wasn't just a strategic performance, he also had to keep it on the island in some truly terrible oh my goodness, and it is a last lap dive there, last corner dive from Maggio, and he's gone too deep. Mateusz Micah gets underneath him. Look at Winnick there as well, but it is going to be Mateusz Micah who comes up to the line in 4th position, with Maggio 5th and Maciej Winnick in 6th position there. I'm getting confused with all of the M names at the end of that one. But yes, let's go back to Sergio Fletcher for the time being, because it's unfair that we're only glossing over his victory. But that is, of course, his Super League victory debut. He has never been to the top step of the podium before, and of all the days he could have done it, today is the best day to have done so. Mark Schluter is in 2nd position, Norbert Jakob is 3rd, Mateusz Micah, my goodness, Mateusz Micah is in 4th, Alessandro Maggio 5th, Maciej Winnick 6th, and Dylan Fisher, Carlos Martin, Eris Masciuli, and Owen McGorgy, the top 10. Donuts for Fletcher, and he richly deserves those. And I mean, like I said before, if you're going to pick if you're going to pick the best day to get your Super League Grand Prix debut victory, today would be the day to do it. Fletcher wins it, Schluter 2nd, Jakob 3rd, so a double podium for True North just 2 weeks after the first podium of all. Mateusz Micah is 4th, then it's Alessandro Maggio, Maciej Winnick, Dylan Fisher, Carlos Martin, Eris Masciuli, and Owen McGorgy. That's Masciuli's first top 10 since his return to Super League, so a real step up there for Eris Masciuli. Jeffrey Fournier is P11, then it's Luke Mitchell. Pretty good drive there from Luke, pretty underrated. Loic Mudier there, 13th, so recovers some points despite his accident. Jukka-Pekka Lalu P14. Is that his first point of the year for Super Venturi? I will double check that very quickly, but yes it is. Well done to Lalu for that. Shimon Frelich P15, then it's Jose Soriano, Tom van der Voort, Tomasz Vok, and Juho Sopanen rounding out the finishes. Well done to Juho for finishing his first, no, that was his 2nd Super League race, and he did finish the last one as well. Quite a few DNFs as well. Moritz Kropp, we didn't see what happened to him, but he retired late on, so both of the Fraser Tartans failed to finish. Xavi Royce failed to finish as well. He ended up in a fiery mess at the side of the track. Yartayan P22 at the end. Oscar Soltero also called it a day early. Lucas Murno in that rather ambitious move that saw him visit the scenery. Sven Schubert also out, Philip Pushke failed to finish, and Danny van der Neert, of course, the day before David Attenborough's 100th birthday, ended up going off to do some nature watching in the weeds at the side of the circuit. So that's the lot, that's the order, that's how they rounded out the drivers who finished and didn't finish. We had a brand new driver at the very top of the order. We had surprise results up and down the order. We had some quite big names quite far back, of course, like Munier with that incident, and Shimon Frelich just getting the strategy wrong. And that was a Super League Grand Prix, but don't go anywhere, because we will be speaking to some of the drivers in due time. Some of them, I'm sure, a lot happier than others. But just quickly, Lorenzo, what do you make of that race and Sergio Fletcher's first Super League victory?
Well, I must correct you first, because Sergio this now makes him a 2-time race winner. Obviously, following the DC decisions after Melbourne, he was the one who inherited that top step of the podium from.
He was second.
It was between himself and Jan Granqvist on the drag race for the finish. God, I'm sorry, but yeah, he does get his first win, and I mean, what a dominant display to do it.
Yeah. So he's had podiums before. He was second in Melbourne, and also last season, did he get a podium last season? No, he was second in Melbourne, and that was his first podium. So, yes, he had quite a few top 10 finishes last season, but finally breaks through and gets that debut victory, and we can speak to him now. Hello, Sergio. Do you hear us okay?
Yes, I do.
Fantastic. Well, you already sound ecstatic, and you absolutely should be. Your first Super League victory, and what a day to do it. That seemed like a difficult one.
Man, I'm exhausted. We had a strategy, we stuck to it, and the race being damp and a bit of rain actually helped us in the second stint. We had huge delta, but man, I'm so happy. If you watch my stream later, I'm out of energy. I'm so happy.
I'm looking forward to seeing that, actually, especially the moment you crossed the line. I bet that was something. How did you react to getting your first Super League victory?
Well, I was alone in the house, so I just screamed as loud as I could. I was taking the chance. Probably my whole building heard me. So, yeah, really happy.
Well, that's very well deserved. In terms of the weather, we couldn't predict it. It kept coming on and off and on and off. Were you tempted at any point to jump for Inters, and how glad are you that you didn't?
I mean, when we saw the rain, it's important to always stay out, and then when it's too wet, you come in. I think that's the safest bet. There was a couple of laps where the rain was quite hard, and I was on worn mediums, and Mark was catching me quite a lot. I had no grip. But yeah, I think when you have weather like this, the most important thing is just keeping a cool head, and the one who pits the least wins.
Yeah, that certainly seemed to be the case. Now, this wasn't just your first victory, this was your team's first victory, and both Valley Esports cars seemed to be right on it from the start. First of all, Valley is still quite a new team. This is only your second season in Super League. What is the organisation of Valley like, and what is this going to mean to you guys?
Oh, it's very good. We train a lot. We have a really good environment. We support each other, and we share a lot. So it's a very friendly environment, and when someone is faster, they're always happy to help, and we always, analyze telemetry, make sure we optimize everything. So yeah, I'm very happy with my group. And I'm happy. I think all of us got a really good result today. So,
absolutely. But is there going to be any rivalry there? Is Alessandro going to be secretly upset that he didn't get his win first?
Oh no, he was telling me he was so happy for me. We do like each other a lot as teammates. So maybe if we were tied on points, battling for the championship, it would turn into like Hamilton and Rosberg, maybe from friends to enemies. But right now, it's very good. I'm really happy.
So you should be. I'm delighted for you as well. I knew it was going to happen at some point, but yeah, I'm delighted for you as well. So congratulations. I'm also joined today by Lorenzo. Lorenzo, we have a brand new winner here, Sergio Fletcher. Do you have anything to add to him?
Yeah, I'll ask a question. Sergio, felicidades, obviously, for the first win, for yourself and for the team. This win has pushed both yourself in the Drivers' Championship and Valley as a team, both into second in their respective championships. Having received the news that Jan Granqvist now seems to be taking a bit of a step back from Super League, do you feel like, I don't know, you are now the next biggest contender, both for Loic Munier and Sparks, in that Drivers and Teams Championship, or will you just be taking it a race at a time?
I mean, I wouldn't like to proclaim myself, but obviously it was a big gain. I'm not sure, where did Loic finish? He finished outside the points,
30th.
right? Okay. So yeah, it was a big gain. Obviously, it was great for me. I'm really sad for him that he got taken out, but he was good for us points-wise. But yeah, I'm just going to take it race by race, because obviously we've come from Bahrain and Saudi, which were not so good races for us. So we're just going to take the ups and downs, not dwell too much, and just keep looking forward. And I don't know what we did differently this round, but we're going to try and replicate it for every round.
I mean, well, that's all from me.
That's all right. Thank you very much for speaking to us, Sergio, and congratulations.
Thank you very much. Nice.
All right. we're going to do our traditional thing of going down the podium from first to third. Second place, of course,
Yeah.
Mark Schluter. Hello, Mark.
Hello.
Hello, Mark. Is this the first time we've spoken to you this season?
Yeah, I'm feeling very good. It's just a bit sad on losing out of the win, but that's how racing is.
That's okay, that's okay. Well, we all know that you're a very competitive individual. You're always upset when you're not at the front, but today you're back at the front. Now, obviously, it's been quite a difficult season up until this point, so how much does it mean to be back in contention?
It means a lot. I mean, the guys back in the group are just pushing and pushing to get an edge against the others. But I think today we were the fastest of all, so I'm really happy. But GG to Sergio. I think he deserved it today. Either me or him deserved it the most today, and I think the right guy won today.
Even so, I think the right podium happened today with you guys right up there. I was saying this to Sergio, but this seemed like a really difficult race in terms of the weather and in terms of the strategy, and everyone did it slightly different. But was it all about not giving in to temptation when it started raining, not ducking in too early, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean we were in a good position, and I mean at some points the Inters I think were faster, but I think Shimon went on the Inters and gambled, but after he went in, the rain immediately stopped again. So I think it was the right choice every time to stay out and see how the rain will evolve, or will go back to being dry.
Well, you mentioned staying out. You actually stayed out for longer than anyone else. At one point, you were leading the race by 14 seconds because everyone else had made their pit stops. Did that end up helping you in the end?
Yes, I think. I mean, we knew that it is a bit risky with starting on hards, but I think it helped us out in the end, having like over 10 laps fresher tires in the second and last stint than everybody else, and we didn't lose that much time in the first stint that I was expecting. So I think we did the right strat today, and just a very good race as a team. Double podium as a new team is really good. I think we're doing a really good job, and I want to thank Carter again for bringing me in. I think it's going to be a beautiful partnership in the future.
Now, Mark, you keep getting better as the season goes along. You've gone from out of the top 20 to just outside of the top 15 to just outside of the top 10, then fourth, then second. Does that mean it's a win next time?
I hope. Canada is my favorite track after all, and also the home race of the team, so I want to have a go at the win.
That's very true. I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, that is your team's home race. Fantastic. Honestly, with the form that you guys are on, I see no reason why you can't contend for it. So no pressure, of course, but I'm sure you don't need any good luck going into the next one.
Yeah, we just need to keep pushing, and then I think we're gonna be in a mixed again in Canada.
Fantastic. Now I'm once again joined by Lorenzo here. Lorenzo, Mark's had his best day of the season so far. Do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I do have two questions. First of all, Mark, congratulations. I'll keep it short and simple. First question being, obviously, we saw there were a couple of moments where your engine was smoking out there on the track. Was there something that might have happened? Well, no, I'm wording that wrong. Is that something that you had to take into account while trying to catch Sergio, and something that you took more care of after hearing of what happened to Xavi Ross?
Not really. In clean air, it was fine. I don't know. I had like 4 to 5 degrees more on the engine than I had in all of the practice sessions we did. So I don't know what happened. And when I saw that I had like over 130 degrees and I was smoking for a little bit, I just I just tried to keep out of the dirty air and cool my engine a bit so that it won't explode. It's just very weird because in all the practice we did, the cooling we had was fine, and today, even though it was like the same temperatures we practice all week, the engine was hotter than normal. But I guess it's what it is.
And the second question, I did some snooping around. Following this round in Malaysia now, across the entire career ladder, only 3 teams remain to have attended every single round, and among those, I think True North is one of 2 to have. Actually, True North is one of 3 teams across the entire career ladder to have attended every single round, and to have had both drivers finish in all of the rounds. Obviously, as Montreal is going to be a home race, would you love to improve on that way to win and potentially a double podium, or is that something that hasn't crossed your mind so far?
Yeah, I mean, of course, as I said, Canada is like one of my, if not my favorite track of the year, and the team's home race. I mean, of course, I mean, a best scenario would be we're getting a 1-2, but with this grid so tight, and we don't know how each team is gonna perform each race, because I think over these 5 races, like it fluctuated a bit. Like one team was fastest in one race, and now they were like 20 seconds behind us, and yeah, so it's just fluctuating a bit. And with this tight grid, you won't know what you will achieve, so you're just gonna have to do your best and try and get on top of the others, I guess.
Yeah, that seems quite reasonable. And yeah, that's everything from me. Thank you very much, Mark.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to continue on with our podium, and once again, for the second time in a row, we're going to 3rd place, with that being Norbert Jakob. Norbert, hello.
Good evening. Long time no see, guys.
Long time no see. All right. Well, not quite. I mean, your second podium on the bounce, of course. Bet that one feels good, especially with Mark up there as well.
Yeah, it actually feels amazing because once again I started my official practice and qualifying in the mindset that I might not be able to even score points today, and then here I am. So looks like I just keep underestimating my capabilities from week to week.
And you keep getting even better. I've said this to every driver so far, but that looked like a really tough one. How did you manage the conditions today?
Yeah, it was very nerve-wracking. I couldn't really find a comfortable rhythm in the practice. I was struggling with oversteer in the car, but that was I knew about it because I've been struggling with that for days at that point. And then the rain came, which made it a bit spicy. And the qualifying was, I'm sure it was fascinating from the outside and very exciting, but from the inside it was even more. And yeah, in the end, I'm very happy that I could get, I think I was 5th once again on the grid. Just like in Jeddah as well, and I'm also not really good in these changing conditions, so that's why I was very surprised that I could get 5th in the quali. And then we had a bit of shower during the warm-up session as well, and nobody knew what the weather is going to look like for the race, so it was a whole gamble with the tires at the start. But our race engineer decided that let's go with our original strategy and start on the hards. And I was all over the place in the first few laps. I think I dropped down until like P11 maybe, because a lot of guys were on mediums and softs and they just overtook me. and I was very anxious and nervous, and at that point I felt really bad looking back to my engineer because he kept giving me advices, but I was just too busy whining to him about my problems. So yeah, that's by the way how usually it goes in our voice channel during the races, but luckily they got used to it. And then at the end of the first stint, we started to make up some positions. The second stint was even better, and we could literally catch up to the front runners at the end. Also, we got some showers along the way, as usual. So it was very exciting as a driver. But I felt like I was not really struggling after my first stint compared to the others. For example, I saw that Alessandro was very struggling, which surprised me because in the practices he was not struggling at all, and he was one of, if not the fastest from our group. So yeah, and then we had an interesting battle with the TOP cars. In my opinion, it was just on the edge of sportsman-like driving or behavior. But yeah, somehow we managed to survive that, and then in the final stint I just had to clear off Micah to get my podium position.
Yeah. You know what, Norbert? One of the things that's great about interviewing you is normally when we interview people, we have to ask them a bunch of different questions to get the whole story. You just gave us the whole story off the bat. That was fantastic. But no, you had a fantastic race there. Really made the most of the conditions. And I've seen you posting in the YouTube chat, podium but squared. Could we get podium but cubed next time out?
I was actually just looking at the standings, both the drivers and the constructors, and then I realized that now we have a 5th place. We skipped 4th place because we have a 4th place from Jeddah from Mark. We have a 3rd place. We have a 2nd place, and next time round we will be in Canada, which is the team's home race. So it would be quite nice if we could put the cherry on the top of the cake with a victory on home soil. So I'm pretty sure that's also what Carter would love to see from us. So yeah, we will try our best, and hopefully in 2 weeks my name will say Wimbert once again.
Indeed. Well, thank you for speaking to us, Norbert. Lorenzo, do you have anything to add quickly?
No, I think anything I could have possibly asked, but Norbert, he has already answered, so yeah, I think we'll let him go.
That's true. All right, Norbert, thank you very much, and yeah, congrats on your 2nd podium on the bounce.
Thank you, it was my pleasure. See you guys.
See you.
Alright, well since we've just spoken to both of the True North drivers, it's only right that we're going to bring in the team boss once again, Carter McColeman. Now, Carter, last time out, we spoke to you and you were very happy having scored your first podium in Super League. You were 3rd and 4th in Jeddah. You guys have just gone 1 place better. You guys have gone 2nd and 3rd, 1 place better with each car. You must be over the moon.
Yeah, it's really nice, honestly. It's unexpected to say the least, and I hope the trend keeps going, but we'll see.
Well, that would be a 1-2, wouldn't it? I will say, I've looked at the calendar. Both of your drivers have looked at the calendar as well. And you know what's coming next, don't you? It's the Canadian Grand Prix.
Yep, no better place to do it, let's say that. Well, it's a hard ask, though, because the strength of this field is just immense. But we'll be working as hard as we can to try and deliver a good result at the home Grand Prix.
One thing I have noticed, Carter, bringing it back to this race for a moment, is that neither of your cars had a fresh engine for this one. Was that strategic considering the track that we're at? And do you think that the conditions maybe helped you on that front?
I mean, the conditions definitely didn't hurt us. It was yeah, we didn't have the precious engines in the car. They were 1 race old, but we figured that other people probably wouldn't take the fresh engine just based on the calendar moving forwards. But so it was a bit strategic, and I guess a little bit of hope and a prayer that the weather would work in our favor and not give us a completely dry race.
Well, that worked out for sure. We saw your drivers really maximizing what they had out there with Schluter staying out for as long as he possibly could at the front, taking the lead, just waiting for the conditions to see what they would do. How much communication was going on in that race between you guys and the drivers?
I mean, I wasn't in on the radio for most of the race. I let our engineer handle things because I know he's got things under control. But it was pretty crazy hearing, oh, there's rain, oh, there's no rain, oh, there's rain, and kind of just onwards from there, just never knowing really what the weather was going to do. But we held our ground, believed that it wasn't going to fully rain, and in the end it worked out for us.
Out of interest, who is the race engineer?
We've got lucky to have Usama Kanani as our race engineer.
Oh, right, yes, former Super League driver himself.
Indeed.
Well, yeah, congratulations on that result. That's an absolutely fantastic one with second and third place. And I was saying this last time to you, the climb that we're seeing from True North just doesn't stop. And I think that's ironic with the name True North. You guys are going True North and just never looking back.
Yeah, we will keep hoping to do that, and hopefully maybe our new livery next round brings us some more luck as well.
You got a new livery for the next round. Is that a scoop? What's the new livery?
You'll just have to wait and see.
Okay, well, congratulations, Carter, and I will let you go if that's okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Now, I haven't actually said that I'm going to bring him in, so hopefully he's expecting us, but I'm going to very quickly bring in Alessandro Maggio. Alex, sorry, I know you weren't necessarily expecting to be next, but hi, how are you?
Hello, I'm pretty okay, I guess. The race was normal, I guess. I wasn't really expecting anything surprising from it, so it was okay.
I mean, I've got to say, that was about the least normal race we could have got. What was so normal about it?
My result, if anything. The race itself wasn't so normal if you were talking about that. My result was, yeah, average. I mean, I was kind of expecting to finish where I did, because, yes, my qualifying pace is, like, you could argue it's one of the best of the grid, blah, 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 whatever, but, like, in the race, I'm still miles behind, for example, Sergio, as we could see today. So, first of all, congratulations to him. It's been a long time coming. I'm so happy for him. And second of all, I'm very sorry for what happened to Loic. I'm pretty sure that had he not tangled with Lucas, he would have been right up there with us as always. So yeah, the race was fun. It was lots of action. I was kind of annoyed, let's say, at the second stint because I lost a lot of time with traffic, but it's racing. You gotta do what you gotta do to win. So yeah, still very happy with the team's result.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned results. You said that was a pretty standard result for you. I'm not sure it was, I'm afraid. I think if we had a standard result from you, you'd have been throwing your computer out the window.
Fair enough.
But no, well done on finishing that one. And you know, that's more than we got from Saudi last time out.
Yeah.
One thing I will say, Alex, is that you guys as a team are fantastic. Like, you guys, when one of you is quick, the other one is quick as well. And it's not like you have a massive disparity as we see in other teams. It's not like one driver is carrying the other. You guys are both quick and both pushing. How do you keep up that team spirit?
Well, I've been working with Sergio ever since we met in Formula Sim Racing in 2023. And when we started working together more thoroughly for the 2024 championship, we realized immediately that we had incredible chemistry and we were basically just pushing each other to do better, especially in qualifying. He used to be a bit slower than me in quali at first, but with my constant pace and just mentally pushing him to do better, we just kept on, you know, pulling each other along, and that chemistry never faded. And I firmly think that it's what keeps this team going and so alive in all of the races. We might have a bad result every now and then, or more times that you would expect, but we just work so well together. It's such an incredible, like, the team spirit that there is behind Valle is just, it's incredible. They could have thrown me out the window even last year because of all my DNFs, yet they still believed in me, and I'll be forever thankful for what they did, because without them I wouldn't be where I am right now.
That is one thing that I've always been impressed with, actually, the fact that you keep going despite everything that's happened to you, and the fact that your team keeps believing in you as well. And I can see why it happens. And you mentioned earlier that you were over the moon with Sergio getting his first result here. I asked the same thing to Sergio, but is there any kind of like inter-team rivalry where you're secretly like, that should have been me getting my win first?
Well, obviously as a racing driver, you always want to beat the #1 rival, which is your teammate. So there's always going to be something in your head that tells you, man, that could have been you. Why wasn't that you? But I think that the joy that I felt when he got his first win just overcomes everything else. And it was for the same for him as well in 2024 when I got my first win in Formula Sim racing. So it just goes both ways at this point. We just work so well together that any kind of rivalry that there is just goes out the window immediately.
That's honestly really wholesome and really good to hear. But yeah, today's race looked like a really difficult one from you guys. You were a little higher up the order earlier on. I don't think strategy necessarily went your way at the end. Was there anything that you think you regret slightly or could learn from?
Surely I should be a bit kinder to my tires, because, well, that is most of the time my main issue. And it has been for the past 3 years now. I'm just too hard. I'm overdriving all the time because I try to keep up with everyone else. Everyone else is just so good. This grid is so stacked, so competitive that I just have to overdrive all the time to even keep up. So our strat was quote-unquote perfect from Sergio's side because, well, he won and we didn't really have any kind of rivalry at the end, which was what we were expecting, because yes, we were expecting to be overtaken at the start because of all the soft runners, but we knew that the softs wouldn't last more than 10 laps on that pace, so we just gained and gained and gained back over everything we lost in the first part of the race. What really screwed me over was the second stint, because well, I really killed my tires there and I couldn't clear the traffic as easily as I would have. And, well, since they were battling so hard, I just got massively slowed down. I lost like 10 seconds to where I should have been, and that potentially cost me the podium. But as I said, it happens. You can't really predict it. You can be as analytic as you can before the race, but there's always going to be something that's going to happen in the middle of it that's going to kind of screw you over, and you really don't know what to do from then. But if anything, I'm glad that I didn't throw it into the wall in the middle of the race, which was... It almost happened at one point in my final stint. I was completely sideways in the high-speed section in Sector 2.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Not sure we saw that one.
Well, it's... yeah, it was a bit scary, but I'm still very happy with the team's result.
We saw some of the scary side-by-side stuff, like with Micah on the last lap, but but hey, I don't think we saw that massive twitch, so you're fine. But yeah, really well done from both of you guys. You're now second in the team's championship, and yeah, best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you. See you soon.
See you soon. All right then. So that was a day. That was a day of racing, and quite a day at that. Welcome back, Sepang. Absolutely wonderful to see it back on the calendar. I really hope that it sticks around. I didn't realize it was quite so divisive. I was speaking to our broadcast director Remco de Zeeuw during the warm-up, and Remco was saying that it is not necessarily one of his favorite circuits. He actually worded it slightly differently to that, but that's okay. I would still like to say a massive thank you to Remco de Zeeuw for being the broadcast director today and providing you with the sights and sounds and the stream that you've been watching. I'd also like to say thank you to my co-commentator Lorenzo Eterovic-Funcic for commentating alongside me and yeah, giving me someone to bounce off of. Lorenzo, what a day it's been. How are you? How are you gonna sleep tonight after all that?
Usually well after some tea and biscuits.
Yeah, you deserve them. Thank you very much as well to all of you who have joined us in the YouTube chat, and of course all of the drivers who have kept us up to date, kept us entertained. Thank you to the race director Chris Williamson and all of the modders and everyone like that. I forgot to mention in my interview with Alessandro Maggio actually that he did a lot of work in making this track, so thank you for that, Alessandro Maggio. Anyway. Thank you guys once again, and we will see you in 2 weeks' time at Canada. Good night.